Hello.
Hello, good
That's
evening.
the first
Good
word
evening.
to say. Hello.
Yes, that's your card for tonight. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to a Saturday night special with the wonderful Rogue and myself,
Did you want me to say my name?
Well, I
at that
did,
point?
yeah, at that
I don't
point.
really
That
want
was
to.
your kind of
I
there.
don't. You can say it for both of us.
First of all, I want to say a huge thank you to all of our new subscribers and those of you who joined us this morning for our brand new brunch show, Rogue. I thought it was fantastic. It was short.
Very short and compact.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we like them. Apparently.
Yeah. Anything else to say about the brunch show this morning?
I thought it was good fun. I thought we had our regulars on and we had some extras. So thank you everybody that came on and enjoyed it with us.
Yeah, indeed. And good evening to all of our people that are watching here on X tonight. We've got a very special guest, which we'll come to a little bit later. He's on in a few moments' time. It is the wonderful
BASIL the Great. I feel like he's like a Mighty Mouse. You know his pictures of mouse.
I know. I got
Mighty Mouse to save the day. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah.
My voice is still really bad today, guys.
Yeah, here he is. This is our guest tonight.
Mighty Mouse.
He will be on a little bit later to talk through all of this week's hot topics and subjects and everything else that's been going on. We touched on some of them this morning, actually. Of course, went through some of the papers this morning. Didn't get through all of them. We mentioned a few things, but there was a few stories you wanted to get through, Rogue, wasn't there?
Oh my gosh, there was.
Do you want to go through them now?
Yeah,
then? So as we're waiting.
Okay, so we have 15 minutes before he comes on. And the one thing that I wanted to talk about, actually, I need to find which one it is. So it's actually about some nurses, and the nurses have won. Maybe it's not this one, lovely. It's quite exciting, to be fair, because they've made a stand. Where is it?
I think you should have got it ready before we went on.
Well, I did, actually.
Did you?
Yeah. And then you missed all of the bloody papers up.
You're busy doing your makeup and on the phone, love. Don't blame me.
Oh,
this is why I
there's
said
a little dig.
That was a dig, yeah.
There is a little
I always say to her,
dig.
do not be on your phone before the show. And what did she do? On a bloody phone before the show. So we don't get a chance to run through it, see?
I got called and I don't know what to say. I had to answer it. Do you know what?
You didn't have to answer the call at all, right?
Why didn't I?
Because we got work to do, because wherever it is, they can wait. This is more important because our viewers were waiting.
I love the fact that our viewers were waiting.
Right?
And I love
But you did a great job with your makeup. Not that you need it. You look beautiful anyway. Well done.
Thanks
Looks
very
stunning,
much.
as ever. Well, welcome all of you anyway. If you're watching, chuck in your comments. If you have any questions for our guest tonight, Basil the Great. You probably know him from X more than anywhere else. He is infamous on there, famous on there, incredible on there. I mean, we love his stuff, the stuff he puts out there. I mean, he's on there constantly, and he posting stuff all the time and getting all the news. He always seems to get the news stories out before anybody else, doesn't he? He's very clever.
Where does he get his intel from?
I know.
That's
I'd love
what
to
I
know.
want to know.
So we got
hello everybody.
Evening,
hello
evening, guys.
Can I just tell you actually what happened tonight, because I think it needs to be told.
Yeah, don't worry, we're bringing him on in a second. Don't worry, he's coming on.
Yeah, I bring on Basil. So tonight, obviously I've still got this chest infection, so I decided to go and get in the bath and put some Vicks all over my nose and my neck and my chest, just to try and steam out this cold. So I decided to put a little candle, turn the lights off, and have a little bit of a relax. So I took my glasses off. I literally took them off like this, chucked them on the side. The next thing, I could smell burning plastic. And I was like, what the hell? I looked over, my glass, like my glasses arm, had literally been sticking up, and somehow it had caught fire. So it's now literally all metal up to here, and I've had to put a plaster on it so it doesn't hurt my ear. Like, what the actual hell? Who on earth? No, it just happens only to me.
Well, no,
who on earth gets in the bath and then actually gets in a fire from her glasses catching fire?
You put your glasses next to the candle, I'm assuming, so that's how they caught fire then, eh?
Well, yeah, but it wasn't like close.
Well, why didn't you leave your glasses in the bedroom, not take them with you in the bathroom?
Because I can't see without them.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you missed the bath if you did that, didn't you? You got handrails, haven't you? Don't you live in old people's home now? We're 50, love.
Yeah, well, I'm not ready for an old people's home just yet.
No, they're not getting rid of us that easy, are they? No, absolutely. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. All the comms coming in. Make sure you've got comms coming in here. Will we be seeing Basil as a real person? Ooh, you never know, do you? You never know.
We'll be in disguise like the Stig. Helmet on.
Get well soon, Rogue.
Thank you
for that.
so much.
Yes, we're going to get Basil on in a few moments' time. But before we go to that, Obviously, we want to chat with you, our viewers, because some exciting things happening. Don't forget, tomorrow night, you always broadcast on Sunday at 8 p.m. and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Saturday brunch show as well. Our first one this morning for 40 minutes in the morning. Breakfast with Richie and Rogue. Some coffee and everything else. So, Rogue, what's this story then you wanted to share with our viewers before we bring our guest on in a few moments?
So, right, 3 strikes and then ask your GP for a rethink. So there's this new thing that's been implemented, right? So family doctors have been told to think again if they see sick patients 3 times without improvement. So if you go in with a chest infection and you've been coughing and then they say it's a virus, exactly. This is my point. You haven't let me finish.
Right, okay.
So you go in or get a phone call and actually say that you've got this chest infection, and then they just say it's a virus, go home, you'll be fine. It doesn't get better. So then you go back for antibiotics, and then you find out that they've given you the wrong antibiotics. Then you find out that actually you need to go back again and you can't get an appointment. However, what is now being said is that there has to be 3 strikes. Now, I know each and every one of you who understand the NHS and how on its knees it is. We're going to struggle to even have to be able to go back for the 3 times to get that strike, because I grew up going back to the doctor again and again and again, and it took them 30 years to figure out what was wrong with me. That's a hell of a long time.
That is a hell of a long time.
3 times, wouldn't it have been nice if after the 3 times they actually came up with a solution? No, they did not. They just sent me home.
But have you noticed they call them GPs, general practitioners? You know why that is? Because they practice on you. Because when they give you medication, they say this: take these. If they don't work, come back. Sorry, I thought they meant to work, but they say that, and I find it hilarious. Try these, and if they don't work, come back. That's why they call general practitioners. They're practicing on you.
This is all because this lady, Jessica, she sadly died. Her name's Jessica Brady, and she died after her cancer was missed at more than 20 GP visits.
Terrible.
Why does it have to take 20 GP visits? Why are we not checking things out? So when I teach Year 4 medical students, I actually go in and I always think of the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
It's not great, but actually you have to look at like what is the best case and what is the worst case scenario, and how long a time do you give it? So I always teach my GPs or my consultants, this is how it needs to run. But 20 times to send her home, this is why there is now a 3-strike action for doctors and GPs to rethink.
Yeah, as we've said before, the NHS is in an absolute crisis in this country, not just in this Labour government, the Conservatives as well, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. Adam Brooks posted something on his X earlier, which I'm going to show you, which I think is perfectly put. Pensioners are poorer under this government. Students are poorer. Working people are poorer, farmers are poorer, small businesses are poorer, migrants are better off. Adam Brooks, I couldn't have said it better myself, mate.
Well done, Adam.
Absolutely spot on. That is what we've been left with this shambolic government, and we're going to be discussing that with our wonderful guest tonight, BASIL the Great. Yes, he's going to be on. I can't wait. I'm so excited. So excited. I'm on just a few more minutes. He'll be joining us. And we got lots to ask him. Please post your questions in the comments section here on YouTube, and we will put them to him. He is a wonderful, wonderful guy. And as many of you have had interactions with him on X as well. In fact, there's someone on X tonight who asked me to ask him a certain question, which I'm going to come to a little bit later. No, I haven't told you what it is yet, do I? You look, we know what questions are.
I thought you were going to jump on the question that I was asked.
Well, you don't. Well, maybe. Oh, is it the same person? It might be. I don't know.
It was the person that asked me.
Oh, right. Okay. I think they're on you, actually. They're watching because I've seen them come up on the side there. So please do us a massive favor while you're watching this. If you've not subscribed to our channel yet, why not? Please hit that subscribe button. Hit the notify me button as well, because when you do that, every time we go live, you'll be notified, because we do it spontaneous sometimes as well. And also, don't forget to follow us on all the social media platforms. That is Facebook, X, and TikTok. But
you're going to put Facebook up. So put it Facebook and then put it the.
But to be honest, TikTok's a bit of a ball ache. To be honest, I don't even know why you're on there, love. But you enjoy.
I keep on getting banned, literally continued, because they don't like the truth. It's Chinese.
I can't find it.
Did I say that out loud?
I can't find it. Did we save it? We didn't save the banner. No, we didn't. Anyway, find us on X. You're at the bottom of the screen there. You can follow us on X at Rogue Unfiltered and at RW Taylors. And we're also on all the different media platforms. So don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to the channel tonight, because it helps support what we are doing. I used to work for the newspapers.
Yeah, I'm just finding another story that I wanted to discuss, and I had got it all sorted, and unfortunately,
it's gone. Is it?
Well, no, you moved the papers. So let's
go back. Let's talk about this while you forget the papers for a moment, love. Let's talk about what Adam's put out there. Pensions poorer.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Labour first came into power? They promised everything would be better off, pensioners would be better off, and everything else. Then the first thing they did was to take the winter fuel allowance away from pensioners, the most vulnerable in society. I mean, that is an evil act of any government.
And they felt that. They felt that. And again, it's probably about you know, when they were coming to us, because I was actually having conversations and just saying to people, you know, how is it making you feel? They were scared. They were scared for their life. They all assumed that they would get pneumonia. They all assumed that they were going to be, you know, really poorly. And it just made them feel completely undervalued as people.
Yeah.
And that is not okay. And Keir Starmer has got this amazing knack of making people feel like shit, because he gaslights us. He makes us question ourselves, like, did we actually hear that right? Did he not say that he wasn't going to do this? And then the first thing you do is do this. It's absolutely absurd.
Well, his first 100 days in office weren't that pretty, and they're getting even worse, aren't they? Let's be quite frank. Even the public mood in the nation, even people who've been long, hard Labour supporters, and now thinking, what the hell have we gone and done? And regretting the fact that they actually voted for Labour. In fact, you interviewed a few people in around the area here, didn't you, a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
And what did they have to say?
Well, basically, one woman actually put her hand up and said, I'm actually disabled, and I thought that he would protect me and look after me. And actually, what he has done since he has come into power is completely destroyed my faith and completely made me question why I even voted him in. I will never vote for him again. And I hugely are feeling embarrassed, but not that. I feel like I owe an apology to the people for my vote for bringing Keir Starmer in. How bad is that?
That is really, really, it's very telling, very bad as well. And you can see how badly they're polling as well. I mean, Welsh Labour here in Wales are almost non-existent now. They're barely scratching the surface when it comes to the polls. In fact, some of the polling that was put out this week, not from YouGov, but from an independent polling agency, had Rupert Lowe's party. And he doesn't even have a party. But if he had a party, polling at 6% here in Wales. 16%.
It was 16%.
I mean, absolutely crazy. You know, it just goes to show that Welsh Labour have absolutely decimated this country here in Wales, and certainly Labour in Westminster as well. Well, our guest is coming on in just a few moments' time. He is just about to come on, actually. We're going to bring him straight. Should we bring him straight on?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and only
amazing
Mr. BASIL the Great.
Yay!
There he is.
Hello,
BASIL.
everyone.
Hello. Welcome. Oh, good.
Oh, wait, good, mate. Your mic is fantastic. Now, we've been asked by our viewers, is BASIL going to reveal his face?
or are you going to wear a helmet like the Stig?
Yeah.
Ironically, I think I'm one of those people, if I revealed who I actually was, I'd become less famous, just like the Stig did. No, I keep myself anonymous for obvious reasons, living in the UK today. So, keeps things easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a crazy world, BASIL, when you have to do that. But I have to say, my friend, you are one of my most favorite people to follow on X.
It's just amazing.
I just want to know who your sources are, mate, because you get the news before the news gets the news. I mean, it's like, how do you pull it off?
I would love to say there was a secret art to it or something, but it's not. It's just relentlessly checking the news. I'm a bit of a politico, and I'm obsessed with, obviously, the state of the country, like so many of us are. So I sadly stay pretty glued to my phone and the internet all the time and checking on what's going on and what the latest news is. The good thing is, obviously, is as you grow an account on social media, people do get in touch with you and they give you a lot of the information themselves, because sadly, journalism in this country is not the fine art it once was. And so many people are just trying to get their stories out there. So they ask you for help and stuff in publicizing it and getting it out there. So yeah, there's it's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I can ask you my first question, then Ro can ask hers. And do you want to go first? I've got a question for Basil.
Well, no, I've just got a lady that's asking me to ask the question. So you go first.
So my question really, Basil, is what motivates you to do what you do? Because obviously, like, you expose a lot of things. What motivates you? What's your intentions? Why do you do what you do?
I think it's the same reason why anybody who's involved in this space, including yourselves, do it. It's because we love our country. We're patriots. Absolutely. And we hate to see what's happening to it. I mean, if you think about what's happened throughout the history of our proud country, and you think of what our ancestors achieved and the great heights that they climbed to, sometimes literally across the world, and you think of what has happened in the 3 generations that have been alive since I've been around, that I've seen, I'm thinking of my parents' generation and my grandparents' generation. And I think it's undeniable that there's been a massive decline in the state of this country. And it terrifies me what will hand to the next generation and to the one after that and the one after that. I'm of an age now where I am getting a little bit older. I can't call myself young anymore. And I see the young generation coming through, and I'm pleased to say there's so many of them who are recognising it too. And this fight is a civilizational one, is the way I see it. It's not a case of, we can get a government that's slightly worse than the last one or slightly better and back and forth. We haven't got time for those things anymore. These petty squabbles we used to have over tax rates and things like that are long in the past. We are looking at the end of our country as we know it. It'll become something that is unrecognizable. And at the end of the day, if you lose that battle, if we lose that battle, then so be it. We will lose it together. But you know what? At least we will try.
Absolutely. So we have a question here for you. Would Basil ever stand for a political party? If so, which one? And if not, why?
Okay, so in terms of standing for a political party, I get told this a lot. I do spaces on X, if anyone listens to them, and obviously a lot of people say, Basil, you know so much, and you do. And look, maybe I do, okay? The truth is, I think that I'm a bit of a... Can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay,
this is unfiltered.
I describe. A lot of people say to me, you're a journalist. I'm not a journalist. I'm a shit poster, right? What I do is I basically parrot the news and put my own commentary on it, right? And I get things out there for people. Yes, I do know stuff about a lot, but that's because there are far more intelligent than people than me who dissect it and pass it down the line, and then I get it from them. So no, there are people in this country who I genuinely admire. Some younger than me as well, who are genuinely brilliant people who are doing great work. People come to mind, particularly the Restore Britain people. There's some great young men who are working there right now. And the reason why I say that is because they are young, right? And so that there is people out there who, we're not just looking for people who are just, up and coming or whatever. These people have really understand the problems in the country. Look, I'm a voice. I'm a good rallier. I'm a good voice box. I'm a platform. But the problem we've had in politics for too long is that we've had people who are too savvy in front of cameras and not good enough behind the scenes. They don't actually understand the problems that are with this country. So what happens is they get manipulated very easily by people who are. And they get to, it's your job to sell this to the country, this piece of crap. So in terms of standing for parties, look, I would never say never. I have things of my own that I'm doing right now, but I never will say never. And I'd love to do it one day. And if it was, it would be a party such as Advance UK or this potential Rupert Law thing that's coming up or something like that. It would be a party that I would know the morals and the fabric of it are in the right place. But for now, I will just keep doing what I'm doing. Thank you.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job as well.
Amazing job.
And I want to say to all of Basil's followers who are watching, because I know Basil has reposted this on his X account tonight, thank you so much. It might be your first introduction to Richie and Rogue. So, and thank you to Basil for sharing this broadcast with all of his followers as well. We all know real appreciation for Basil's work, and it is
absolutely
the way that just the way he posts things. I'm terrible. I just see something, and I just go, yeah, just post it. But Basil, you have a way of crafting words that really gets people to interact with you. It's a gift, mate. You have a gift, mate. It really is a gift. It's
like an addiction, having to see what Basil's just written. What's he written now? What's he written now?
I've got my notifications on for Basil. I
have too.
So when
here we go. Let's try and get it served.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's sensationalism, right? I mean, look, at the end of the day, right, I would love to dress it up, and some people do, and they say, you know, we're all in it for the right reasons and stuff like that. Look, there's many reasons why people do what they do. For me, I want people to read the news. I want people to be interested in politics, and I want people to view what I post. You know, some people turn at me, oh, here we go again with the breaking and there's a siren and the news and all the rest of it. But the truth is, if you don't do those things, so many people just switch off. You need to grab their attention. And when you go on X, there is a load of, let's be honest, things that aren't important. They're entertaining, but they're not important, you know, funny videos and things about, you know, interesting videos. But the truth is, if politics is a boring subject for many people, and if you want to get people to understand what's happening in this country, you need to grab their attention. And that's why I do it that way.
That's brilliant. And it's a really good way of doing it. We've got another question for you. Was it a shock to you seeing Starmer's X comments compared to what he says on MSN TV?
I have no idea what that means.
So in how he presents himself on TV and then compared to like his X comments, it doesn't quite tally up. You think actually somebody else is writing that for him. So was it a shock to you to kind of say, oh my gosh, the comparative.
Yeah, that's obvious. Someone else writes them for him. I mean, the perfect example of that was Abdel Fattah, the guy from Egypt. And obviously they all wrote, I mean, if you go, by the way, most people, they see Keir Starmer's comments, right? I'm a political nerd. I go and watch all the Labour Party cabinet ministers' comments, and you'll see they're all roughly the same. It's kind of like a copy and paste job with a few things changed. What was interesting about that, though, is that Keir Starmer clearly didn't know that they posted on X saying, welcome to the country, because obviously when it was found out this guy was absolutely abhorrent and an anti-white racist and all the rest of it, he was shocked by that, right? And he didn't know. It's ironic because Keir Starmer says things like X is a platform of uncensored people who get away with all sorts and they need to be controlled and all the rest of it. Your social media accounts need to be better controlled. You're the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and you put out rubbish every single day. What's fascinating about X is that they've got the community note system, which you don't have on other social media platforms. He is the most, I've checked this, he is the most community noted public figure, not in the UK, in the world. Okay, our Prime Minister. He lies all the time. And no wonder he wants to try and get rid of X, because he can't get away with it. People get to see every time he posts that he is lying. Perfect example. Just the other week, he turns around and says, we're going to cap bus fares at £3. And if you watch that, you think, oh, that's fantastic. You've reduced bus fares. No, without saying they were capped at £2. He upped them. Do you know what I mean? But again, on Facebook, on Instagram, you don't see that extra element. On X, you see it. And that's why I think it's the platform of choice.
Absolutely. It's just this gaslighting, isn't it? The whole time. It's like, this is what I'm saying here, and then I'm going to put it out somewhere else. And like you said, get community noted that actually you're telling lies again, Keir. Like, please go and do one and actually do us all a favor and fucking resign.
Yeah, and get out of the way.
The worst thing is there, Rogue, is who takes over from him.
I know, that's the pertinent question.
That is the $1 million question, isn't it? And of course, we would advocate for Advance UK. But obviously, prior to that, if there was a snap election, I mean, who's in the running? You got Angela Rayner, you got Wes Street in. There's talk of Sadiq Khan.
He's being tried to be ousted at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of political hurdles that they'd have to get through to get some of those people into that dispatch box.
David Lammy is.
Do you want a bit of behind the scenes knowledge of what goes on in the Labour Party?
Come on, mate.
So for those who aren't aware, right? I used to be in the Labour Party when I was just, you're talking 20 years ago now, right? When I was a young idiot, I didn't know what I was doing. I grew up in a very Labour working class area, and obviously growing up, you get taught, well, mining area, you get taught, you know, the Labour Party is a good thing and stuff. And obviously by being in there, I learned from the inside that it's terrible. However, a few of the people who I knew there, they kind of rose up the ranks and they're still in the party. Obviously, I'll never reveal who they are, but I do talk to them. And, you know, they're actually not as crazy as you might think, but they do believe that the party's lost its way somewhat. Anyway, this is a job to them now, so they can't do anything else. It's not like you can leave the Labour Party and, you know, maybe you can join Reform, but you can't join other parties. You know, they'll take anyone these days. But no, in the Labour Party, they told me what was going on behind the scenes, and how much truth there is to this, I don't know. But what I've heard is basically they thought Keir Starmer would see out the 5 years regardless, because of just how obviously smashing the election was for him in terms of the numbers. And they didn't expect so many people in the Labour Party to just get angry and get upset at the way things are going. And sure enough, they didn't expect him just to kowtow. If people are wondering why Keir Starmer does all these things, and sure enough, the Joe Rogan mentioned this before. Why do they keep doing these things that are damaging to the UK? Well, basically, he's got three masters. He's got the EU, he's got the Fabian Society, and he's got the Treasury. Now, at the Treasury, they have an awful lot of power and say, because we're in so much debt in this country, they frighten every government and say, well, if you don't do what we say, the banks will fold and they'll collapse and all the rest of it. So that's why they do it. So things like the winter fuel allowance getting removed, he didn't want to do that. The Treasury told him to do that. So anyway, behind the scenes, even the Treasury now are saying, this man's too unpopular, we need to replace him. So the theory is Sadiq Khan and Andy Burnham both have factions that want them. Basically, everyone in the Labour Party thinks everyone in the government is too toxic, okay, for the public. They need fresh faces. They need people who've got big support bases. Well, if you remember correctly, Angela Rayner, just before she was ousted, she introduced a bill that would make it against. So basically, you cannot run to be an MP while you are a mayor. Okay, this is a new law she brought in under some nonsense pretext, right? But inside the bill, it was all about reforming electoral systems. But inside the bill, there was the small print: mayors cannot run for MPs. Obviously, now apparently that was purposefully to stop Sadiq Khan. Okay, she didn't want him because she wanted to try and get the role herself. I don't think she wanted the role herself. Angela Rayner is from the Northwest. She's a very big supporter of Andy Burnham. I think the idea is that Andy's going to be the first one to resign. They've got somewhere lined up in Manchester for him. I think is it Cheadlehume or something. There's a place in Manchester they've got it lined. Or I think it might be in Middleton. They've got a place lined up for him.
Wasn't it Clive Lewis's seat though? Wasn't Clive Lewis prepared to step down for him?
I think he did say that on the TV, didn't he? Said he would step down. Yeah. Now, the point is that they'll obviously make some people step down all the time because they just turn and say, well, listen, when I'm Prime Minister, I'll make you a peer. Okay. If you step down, I'll make you a Lord. And, you're paid off for life. But yeah, it's going to be a race between Andy Burnham and Sadiq Khan, basically, to see who can get out of it first. Because obviously, and the reason why they don't just get on with it, it's delicate because obviously, as soon as they resign, Keir Starmer immediately knows they're coming for his job. So
yeah,
absolutely.
So the thing is, I'd heard that he was determined that he was going to stay in for 10 years. He was going to do a decade, and that was his ambition. So you've sort of said 5, but he's there just going 10. I mean, he does not want to be moved, and like you said, he's so unpopular now because of the way that he's treating people. But he's really just nothing more than a puppet.
Yeah, well, if the comments go near Basil, as Rogue's just alluded to there, he's controlled. We've got all these huge international bodies interfering into our politics, domestic politics. We've seen it this week. I mean, kind of everyone racing to Davos is the next big show in town, including, we're going to come to that later, Farage himself. And we know that Starmer himself has said, I prefer Davos to the UK. I mean, I think he spent more time outside of the UK, Basil, than he has, outside of the UK than he has in his own country, hasn't he, this year?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
last year, I should say, this year.
Yeah, he probably has this year too.
I mean, the reason he does that, obviously, is because he feels like he knows what he's doing on the world stage, which is nothing. He can't actually do much. But what happens is he gets surrounded by EU allies who say, help us do this. And he goes, I feel like I'm part of the right team. When he gets asked, you've got to make the decision, he panics.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like, I'll never forget, and I said this last time actually, is when he was on the stage with Trump. And then Trump was like, England, Britain, where are you? And then he literally walked up and he just turned his back on him. It was just like, oh my God, this is so cringe.
I'm here, sir. I'm here, sir.
you are not part of the world stage.
And he picked the papers up from on the floor as well when he dropped the papers. And Keir Starmer bent down to pick them up. Now, can you just tell me right now, Vladimir Putin, Georgia Malone, none of these people would have bent down to pick those papers up, right? Because again, the idea of looking impressive on the world stage, they understand the importance of your representing your country. Keir Starmer, he's not fit for this job, okay? He believes he can do this job for the charities and NGOs that have supported him in the past. But when it comes to actually inspiring people, he can't do it.
Is there an element, right, that he is so controlled himself and he is such a puppet that actually that we've got to feel a little bit sorry for him?
No, I don't feel sorry for him. I mean, look, if you feel sorry for Starmer, I would just reread all of the things he's done since he took office. I mean, the truth of the matter is, I'm a Democrat at heart, right? I believe in the British people and I believe in the British public, and I understand that sometimes people will not agree with what I say. If Starmer, all he did was implement what he was voted in to do on his manifesto, I would say, as much as I don't like this, I'm all fair enough. But the truth is, he's done lots and lots of things that nobody voted for, nobody asked for, and it's a disgrace, you know. And I think the biggest, obviously, what he'll be remembered for more than anything is the illegal immigrants, right? Which, I mean, you think of the number of rapes, you think of the number of murders, you think of the number of all the crime and all the rest of it, and I'm sorry, he's directly responsible for that. He brought those people here.
Yeah, he absolutely has, and we should hold him to account.
Absolutely.
But how do we hold him to account? You know, this is an argument that I keep on having. There has to be some kind of legal loophole, or, you know, a policy where we can sort of say this is what we need to. I don't know. It's blinking.
Well, I've always said to you, Western democracy is the best we've got. If you look around the world to a dictatorship, I mean, some might disagree with me. I mean, the ballot box is the place of power. That's the democracy we've been left with. It's the levers we've been given to get rid of the people that we've elected, and it's a 5-year term, unless, of course, he loses the faith and trust of his own politicians and they turn on him, which we've seen with the previous governments as well, and vote of no confidence, but then they replace it with another shit leader, and we end with the same thing again. I think what people are fed up with is the changing of the guard doesn't make a difference. It doesn't matter who's in power, nothing changes. We're still getting poorer, the country's still getting worse, and we feel less safer than we've ever felt. And yet all of those things should be reversed. And I go back to this, and I'm a stickler for this. I blame Tony Blair for 99.9% of the crap that's going on in our country right now. From the early 90s, nearly all, if not everything that he put in place, we are still facing the consequences, Basil, of what that man put into motion, if you like. I mean, what's your thoughts around him and what he's done? And now he's been invited to broker a deal with and rebuild Gaza. Can you believe it?
Tony Blair is one of the most dangerous people we've ever had. I mean, I would actually call him a traitor to Britain, and I don't say that lightly. Tony Blair inspired millions of people to run for him because he was the consummate professional politician in terms of he knew exactly what to say and when to say it. You can't deny that. And in terms of his marketing and appeal, I would say fantastic. Unfortunately, behind the curtain, he was an incredibly devious and dangerous man. Some of the things he did were nothing short of criminal. And the truth is, there used to be a time when I used to think maybe these were unforeseen consequences. Maybe he did things that you thought, I'm not thinking about Iraq. I'm thinking about sort of like creating these sort of NGOs and the like, which take control of many of the levers of state. And there's a time when you think maybe that was unforeseen consequences, but not anymore. I mean, we've seen the video now that I posted just the end of last year, where Tony Blair said on camera that his goal was to make Britain a non-British country. It was to make it a country of multiple peoples from all around the world, which to me is just treason. I just think that is absolutely abhorrent. That was his goal. It wasn't that, you know, we brought over certain immigrants and all the rest of it to try and boost our economy. His goal was to see us become a minority in our own country. I just think that is horrific.
Yeah, we got a post that our good friend Father Calvin Robinson, who's been on the show. Actually, we had him on for a Christmas special.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And he posted this about Tony Blair. I can't quite read my eyes. So, Ro, can you read that?
So why does nothing ever change? We have been stuck in a Tony Blair techno oligarchy since 1997. So basically, Tony Blair appointed to guard the peace board by Trump.
I mean, I'm quite surprised that Trump has taken this action, Basil. Well, why would he? I mean, because I've got a lot of respect for Trump, you know, a lot of time for him, because at least you know what you get with him, you know where you stand with him. If he says he's going to do something, you might not like it, but you know he's going to do it. But the problem we have in our country is we don't have those executive powers in Parliament like a president in the United States has. We don't have a written constitution, which I think is a massive issue in this country. I really think, you know, to have a real revolution, we need to have a written constitution like they have in the USA. I mean, because I know we've got an uncodified one, right? And that's been interpreted by left-wing solicitors and lawyers for years. And it always favors those who are the more liberal, progressive, and woke, you know, all the woke people. I mean, it seems as if we're trapped in this kind of cycle, no matter who gets in, whether it be Labour, the Conservatives that we've only ever known those. We're stuck with it because we have nothing to go back to. We can't quote, well, the Constitution says, and, you know, Americans will use that Constitution, rightly so, as citizens of the USA, they have rights and powers. In our country, it seems like we don't have any rights.
Yeah.
Well, in America, obviously, they were incredibly just lucky that the greatest men of their age wrote the Constitution. Unfortunately, I doubt the greatest men or women of this age would be the ones writing the Constitution. I imagine it would be, much worse people who would lock us into things we don't want to be. The Constitution of this country, right? I didn't actually think we had a Constitution, but I was lucky enough to interview David Starkey, the historian, on X once and on my podcast, and he said he basically told us that we do have a constitution. It's just incredibly complicated. It's incredibly old, and obviously it's interpreted in different ways. The truth is, he said it needs if people what they want is they want it to be simplified, like the American one is. Our constitution basically boils down to the prime minister can do pretty much anything he wants, as long as he has the votes in parliament to do it. Okay, and if needs be, the royal family, the king or the queen previously, can overrule and just remove the parliament, right, if it's an emergency. Now, obviously, the royal family in this country have never done that I think it's since the 1700s was the last time they actually did that. They were called upon to do it. I might be wrong on that, but it's a later one than you think. But they haven't done it since, and they refuse to do it, and I don't think they ever will do it. And the truth is, would we want King Charles doing that, considering how woke and crazy net zero he is anyway? The problem is not a constitution, in my opinion. The problem is a lack of education. It's the fact that we have an entire country that has been propagandized into believing things that are just nonsensical, and PC, political correctness, has been the death knell of the West in general. I believe that we've gone way too far over the ridge on certain things that are just never meant to be this way. And unfortunately, those people, I remember having those debates 20 years ago, and people saying, students these days are crazy and they believe crazy things, and people say, well, yeah, but they're students. Well, students turn into adults, and adults take over societies. Yeah, and unfortunately, what's happened is that as we've got two systems in our country, right? We've got democratic bureaucracy and we've got capitalism. And what capitalism's done is it's made people incredibly wealthy. So if you're really smart, intelligent, and you want power and all the rest of it, you sit there and look and think, do I want to go through the democratic bureaucracy system, which used to be very, people would look at it and say, that's a good way to exercise my abilities. Or do you just want to skip past all the rubbish and go straight into the capitalist system? And you ask yourself nowadays, who's more powerful, Elon Musk or Keir Starmer? And you think, I can understand why people just go into the private sector and think, sod it,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Somebody's here put, Trump will have Tony Blair on a leash. It's all deliberate. You need to keep your enemies very close. What do you think of that?
And on that as well, Rod, if I can just jump in there, because Lee's a veteran. If I can just, just go back, I'll just go back there. Yeah, if you put it up as well. On the back of that, we'll come back two questions together here. So, of course, mentioning that Trump will have him on a leash. Obviously, but also this is from a veteran, a good friend of our show here. He's put, Tony Blair, he invaded Iraq on a lie, gets booted out, and then he creates a job as a Middle East peace envoy, paying himself twice as much as the PM. I mean, you imagine how the veterans must feel having served, and the kind of smack in the face. First of all, he gets a knighthood, which is, he should be in prison, in my opinion. And now he charges millions of pounds for book deals and everything else, traveling on the world on conferences. Now he's a peace envoy in Gaza, for goodness sake. And of course, the question then Rogue asked there from one of our viewers as well. Do you think it's all deliberate that Trump can keep him on a bit of a leash over there?
To keep an eye, yeah.
Well, I would say our perception of Tony Blair is very different to the American perception of Tony Blair. We think Tony Blair is a liar, a warmonger, all the rest of it. What do the Americans think of Tony Blair? He's a poodle who did exactly what they wanted him to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I imagine they want Tony Blair there, because he sat there and went, well, the whole way through Iraq, he did everything we asked for. The military asked him, and he did it every single time. So I imagine that's what they think of Tony Blair.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we've got a lot of stories in our storyboard tonight I want to get through. The first one we're going to talk about, I'm going to just bring it up here now, and I don't know if you can see this on your screen. It was to do with, I can't pronounce the name, Eva Vlaandebroek. You can mention, you can do that, can't you? That's the outspoken activist and campaigner, and I think she's a lawyer as well. She's been banned from travelling to the UK. No reason given, no right to appeal, zero due process, just an email saying the UK government deems me not conducive to the public good. Exactly 3 days after I criticised Keir Starmer. I mean, if that is not cancellation, I don't know what is. Unbelievable, Basil. And I know you posted some stuff on that, and I just want to show you our viewers just for a few moments a brief interview, and come back to you, Basil, on this. That Tucker Carlson, who I'm not a great fan of anymore, but anyway, that's for another reason, another time. I just want to show a brief interview that he did with her on that particular subject. Here we go.
So who is them? I mean, why? So clearly there is a very well organized, very well funded effort to eliminate the white population of Europe. I mean, because it is being eliminated and you're not allowed to notice it, you'll be punished by police and courts you pay for if you notice what's happening to your ancestors' homeland. So that's all just true. Yeah. What?
That's right.
Like, who is pushing this?
It's the question of all questions, right? But it seems that all of these leaders that we have, be it Keir Starmer, be it Ursula von der Leyen, be it Merz in Germany, be it Macron, they all follow the same playbook. They all say the same things, literally post the same things, in their communications to the outside world. They might focus on slightly different subjects here and there, but the agenda is the same everywhere. And it's the erosion, essentially, of our borders, of our nation states, of our heritages. Right. I don't have to tell you or your audience that. We all know it. The question is, who's behind it? Honestly, I don't know. I can't answer that question. But what I can tell you is that the people who are rolling out these agendas are doing it out in the open, in front of our faces, and they keep getting re-elected. So I have made it my mission, at least, to talk about those people and target them specifically, because they are the ones that are in front of us, rolling this out over and over and over again. But it's very difficult to say.
So I don't know that much about Merz. I don't know Macron. His reputation is smart, is clever, and cunning, skilled politically. But I know a fair amount about Keir Starmer, and you will never convince me, at gunpoint even, that Keir Starmer is making independent decisions about the future of Britain. Just, you can't convince me of that. He's not adequate as a leader of a nation. He just doesn't have the basic qualities. He is taking orders. That could not be clearer, and I think it's clear to the British population. But you don't know who's giving those orders.
No, I mean, I don't know who's giving those orders. I think if we would know, it would be easier to stop this from happening, right? But that is, I think, part of the agenda, is that we don't exactly quite know who's behind this.
But there's also been some downs.
There we go. That was the clip that we had of Eva, how do you pronounce her name? Vanderbroek. As a Welshman, that's a very difficult word to say, Basil. I've got to be honest with you. But Ro, you have some questions on that.
I think it's just more, again, it's obvious to everybody that Keir is not adequate or sufficient enough to lead a country. He is a puppet. Everybody can see, who is giving him the orders.
But how did you get to ban someone, like someone coming over here just because he's been criticised? Basil, I mean, that's disproportionate, mate, completely, isn't it?
It's insane. I mean, look, you've got to remember, just 2 weeks earlier, he let this Egyptian terrorist into the country, Alaa El Fattah, who again is a guy who said things like, he wants to see white people massacred and he hates the Jews and all the rest of this kind of stuff, right? And yet Eva Vanderbroek, she obviously attended Tommy Robinson's rally in London, and she posted a speech up about it and basically criticised Keir Starmer in that speech. Yeah. And a few days later, she gets banned from the UK. What this shows, by the way, is that for all the talk that Keir Starmer has about respecting the law and being, legal rights and all the rest of it, he doesn't actually care about the law or anything like that. What he's doing is abusing the powers of the law. This is the same thing that happened to Graham Linehan when he got arrested by the police, and Tommy Robinson, by the way, when he got arrested by the police on terrorism charges. These people are not terrorists. So, again, the reason why this has been done is an abuse of power. There needs to be safeguards put in place so that people who do abuse these powers can be taken to court and challenged. Yeah. I thought the most shocking thing about what Eva she showed, the thing is that you can't even appeal the decision. Can't even go to another judge, which is just not a legal precedent that was in this country. You always get the right to appeal. You always get the right to a second opinion. I think it's despicable. And you know what it is? It reinforces the identity that Keir Starmer, I'm sure he doesn't want, but he's built for himself, which is that he's actually quite an authoritarian person.
Yeah, I mean, when he first obviously stood to be the leader of the Labour Party, he didn't come across as that. To be honest, he's not the most charismatic person. He speaks like a Dalek.
He didn't come across as that. He lied about every single thing. Do you remember the video where he keeps putting his hand up and they say, "Do you support this? Do you support this?" And the Labour, I mean, don't get me wrong; these were very left-wing things, but he lied the whole way through. So there's no doubt that he'll lie to the left, he'll lie to the right, because he doesn't believe in anything. Exactly. No one can work out what Keir Starmer stands for, and those are the worst kind of politicians, because the only thing that I know Keir Starmer actually believes in is he should have the power of Prime Minister. He doesn't actually want to do anything. There's two things, actually. The only other thing I've ever known Keir Starmer stand up for against the grain was the EU. So after Brexit, he still stood up and said, we have to support the EU, all the rest of it. Other than that, I have seen him flip-flop on literally everything.
Everything, absolutely.
Yeah, well,
so is it, just a quick question, with Eva, do you think that they have taken sort of an umbrage with the fact that it's all around Tommy Robinson? Because with Advance, obviously Tommy has become a member, and actually we've had a lot of cancellation issues. We've had a lot of problems in actually trying to get venues to hold, sort of events for Advance. And it's all because of our affiliation with Tommy. Now, we love Tommy. We support him and we back him in everything he does. But obviously she came to support Tommy as well. Could it be just that, or is it just more than that?
I think it's a wider thing. I think what happens is the state looks to disrupt wherever it can. You'd think they'd have bigger fish to fry, but they don't. They get into these petty squabbles, and what happens is petty people take over extremely dangerous powers, and they misuse them for their own benefit. When it comes to things like reform, for example, like used to be reform has become very mainstream now, very accepted, very timid. I remember Carl Benjamin said on Twitter once, once, he said, I wish, he was responding to a leftist who was calling reform racist and all that. I think it might have been Narinda Kaur, actually. And she was saying reform is racist and all the rest of it and disgraceful, and they want to deport millions and stuff. And he just said, I wish they were as radical as you believe them to be, because the truth is they're not. They're incredibly timid. They've been tamed by the same people that have ruined this country. And the truth is that is becoming more and more acceptable. I mean, if you listen to just Keir Starmer and the Lib Dems and stuff, you'd think reform were a rabidly right-wing, racist, Hitlerian party, basically, the way they described them. And they're not. They're basically soft. I mean, I would even argue they're actually quite centrist. Like, they really are not very right-wing, or even what I would say is patriotic at all. They're very kind of middle of the road. You can almost see the neoliberal signs in Nigel Farage's eyes at times. And the truth is, if anything touches just to the right of that, using the traditional left and right spectrum, they freak out. And it's because they've consolidated power. I mean, it's a disgrace that in our government we have so many different parties that all agree on the same things. If you wind the clock back to the last general election, obviously, look, reform is a little bit difficult to pin down what they believe right now. But if you wind back the clock to before the last general election, before reform were elected, and you go and have a look, there was 10 different parties in the United Kingdom Parliament, okay? 10. Obviously, quite a few of them come from Northern Ireland, but, 10 different ones, right? And out of the 10, 8.5, half being Tories, were half and half, believed that men can become women. They believed in the transgenderism stuff, right?
Yeah.
9 out of 10 believed in effectively open borders, mass immigration, okay? And you sit there and go, well, those were the two biggest cultural hot topics of the last parliament, I would argue, right? Yeah. Immigration and the trans issue. Can men become women, right? Because it affects so many other rights as well. Mm-hmm. And you sit there and go, how do so many parties all agree on the same thing? Why is it that when we voted to leave the EU, the three biggest parties, actually, if you include the SNP, the 4 or 5, you can go down the list, they all agreed the EU was a good thing. And you sit there and go, where's the diversity of opinion? And you realize there isn't a diversity of opinion. It's conformity of opinion. To get selected into these parties, you have to be part of the mainstream. And so what they do is the same thing the Republicans and Democrats do in America. They cordon off that piece of the pie. They sit there and go, listen, we can all fight amongst each other, but we will keep it to us. We will not let any outside influences in. And so what they do, and by the way, I have no doubt in my mind, there will be many Tories who will be sat there, even possibly Reform people, who will be sat there the other day hearing Eva Vlanderbroek, a friend of Tommy Robinson's, an ally, etc., has been banned from the UK, and they went, good. I'm glad Keir Starmer took the rap for that. I'm glad he did it.
Very interesting. So we're talking about Farage and reform. We might as well go there now then a week, because we're going to talk a little bit about him, if you don't mind, Basil. I mean, some of the reports,
I do it a bit myself, yeah.
Yeah, we've seen on your tweets. I think this might be one of your tweets, actually, so I'm just going to post it now. But a lot has been said, lots been going on. Obviously, the news breaking over this weekend, which we'll get into a little bit more detail later, was obviously Rupert Lowe's announcement. Something big was going to happen on Monday. Ben put an announcement out this morning, which we showed on our breakfast show this morning, his response to that, which we can show a little bit later, but I think many of you have already seen that. But one of the things that surprised me with Nigel, and I first met him, I mentioned Rogue earlier on the show this morning, it was in 2016, at the same time as I met Ben Habib, actually. And I've got to be honest, he treated me quite well. I know that sounds quite surprising for a lot of people who've been hurt by reform, but he treated me with dignity. He came to my constituency twice, met my family. He was good to me. I left the party for other reasons, nothing to do with that. I left because they threw Tommy Robinson under the bus when they got rid of Ben and Rupert, and when they changed the constitution, and then they allowed Zia Youssef to buy his chairmanship for 200 grand. I thought, that's enough for me. I'm out. So my reasons wasn't because I was hurt. I just didn't agree with the way the party was going when he came back in. But obviously, we've seen Nigel, I call him a political chameleon. He tends to change his political spots whenever suits him at the time to get the voters in. And we've seen now we're going for the Muslim votes, for the left-wing votes, centrist votes, and even now cozying up now to the these international bodies, like he said he'd have nothing to do with them, the WEF and Davos. Now he's going to Davos, and he would say he's going to see his mate Trump. Trump doesn't even like him anymore, to be honest. And I think this was on your X account, Basil, or you posted this. Nigel Farage to attend Davos conference. He derided as John for globalists. I mean, is that pure hypocrisy? What's he doing? Is he becoming part of the establishment, like you said, Basil?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, they didn't call it a manifesto, they call it the contract with the people that they had at the last election. That had in it explicitly that we should break away from the WEF and Davos. It said in there we need to get away from this. And I agree. And look, I understand that global leaders need to go to these things and tell them what they think. But the truth is, Farage is going there to cozy up to people. He's not going there to make enemies. He's going there to make friends. And if you remember correctly, Nigel Farage received a £1 million donation from a WEF puppet, if you remember. I can't remember his name, but if you go and look it up, you'll find it. He received a £1 million donation from him, Basim Haider, that was it. So look, Nigel's probably going there to get money, because reform steams through money like there's no tomorrow, and they want more of it. And you've got to remember, reform have got some, I mean, we can go into it if you want, but there's reasons why I hate reform as well. I just can't believe how just terrible they've been. It's awful beyond belief how they've run that party. And luckily people are starting to wake up to this. I mean, look, the WEF thing, again, you can sit there and look at any leader, whether it be Kemi Badenoch of a party, Keir Starmer, and all the reasons why you despise that leader is because they will pal up to people like the WEF. They will ignore the people of Britain, the average person on the streets, and they would rather be friends with the WEF and Davos and all the rest of it. And Nigel Farage, sadly, has shown that he is no different. He wants to be accepted by them.
Yeah, definitely. And we were discussing on the show this morning, Rogan, our brunch show. By the way, every Saturday, 11 a.m, plug here. Don't forget to tune in. Right here, Richie Rogue. We're here every Saturday, 11 a.m, having coffee and croissants and going through the newspapers as well. But obviously, we've seen some defections from the Conservative Party. Of Nadeem Azawi, you know a lot about him. He pushed the jab vaccine passports. Children didn't need consent from parents. I mean, absolute dictatorial crap. And also now Robert Jenrick was the latest one. I mean, here's a guy that, obviously this is just totally, I just can't understand what is going through Farage's mind, knowing what Farage knew about this guy. He even called him a fraud, for goodness sake. And what's on the screen, everybody was looking at now, when he said more hotels have been coming online almost every month throughout the whole year. What I've done is procure even more. I mean, this is a guy, when he was the former immigration minister, that did an absolutely terrible job. And the very ticket that Reform have always stood on is the anti-immigration ticket. And all of a sudden, they've taken a guy in who screwed it all up.
Absolutely.
I mean, what is that all about? Is it just about getting these numbers in to be credible, do you think, Basil?
Well, I think that on the Jenrick thing, I think that it was a lot of basically political posturing. I think Robert Jenrick, what he's shown is that he's desperate to be relevant, right? He convinced, I know this for a fact, he convinced a lot of people in the Tory party he was going to run for leader of the Tory party after the May elections, right? They were going to get rid of Kemi Badenoch. These are Tories who've told me this. The plan was to get rid of Kemi Badenoch and have a challenge for the election, and obviously Robert Jenrick would come in, and there was well, I'm not saying he would definitely have gotten the job, but there was people who were going to support him and back him, and so they were all shell-shocked when he joined Reform the other day. The reason he's joined Reform, obviously, is because Kemi's found out that what he was actually doing was he had multiple things on the table, multiple opportunities. He was weighing up his options. His loyalty was basically, I am going to stick with the Tory party and fix it, or I am going to join Reform. Kemi took that option off the table for him because she didn't just boot him out of the government, out of the shadow government. She booted him out of the party altogether. So with him being booted out of the party, he couldn't stand for leadership of the Tory party. So when you bear that in mind, you realise that what she's done basically is guarantee that the Tory party will just fall apart. Kemi believes her own, many leaders do, okay? They don't sit there and go, I'm doing a terrible job. She's hanging on to the fact that the poll ratings are still around 17, 18% for the Tories, right? And she's thinking, God, I can't believe I managed to keep it that high. What a great job I'm doing. Not realising that the truth is many people in the Tories just stick with them in the hope that it's like a legacy thing, you know. My grandfather was a Tory, my father was a Tory, mother, grandmother, etc. Right? So she doesn't realise that as time goes on and as it gets closer to the election, people will just drift away when they realise the Tories aren't much cop. The thing that the sad thing about Robert Jenrick is, I genuinely believed that he had changed his mind on immigration. I genuinely had thought he had realised that we have colossally messed this up and we are destroying the UK, and we need a major reversal of fortunes if we are going to fix things. And if he'd stayed with the Tory party and become leader, I was excited to see if he would turn around and say, you know what? Because, I mean, Reform's immigration policy, in my opinion, I would describe it as weak, okay? And I was hoping he was going to say, listen, stop looking at Reform. We'll be the ones. We will fix the Tory party. We will get strong on immigration again and start mass deportations. That would have been impressive to me. That to me was the perfect story arc of Robert Jenrick. He went in there, young, naive, all the rest of it, saw what he'd done, mistakes, learned his lesson, come back. By joining Reform, what he's basically done is not only sold out any chance of him having that story, he's also just sold out the fact that immigration under Reform will not change that much, okay? Right now, we're sat at net 200,000, it was released the other day, right? So this is back to the days of when it was kind of under Tony Blair, right? But the damage is already being done. There's millions of people in this country who should not be here, okay? You could make immigration zero tomorrow, and Britain will still slowly become more and more unrecognizable because of birth rates of different ethnic groups and migrant communities and all the rest of it. It will still slowly become not Britain anymore. So you need to decide, do you want Britain to be for British people first, or do you not? And if you do, you have to start deporting millions of people, okay? It's just a fact of the matter. It's not about racism. It's not about bigotry. It's not about xenophobia. It's about, do we want a country that will be the homeland of British people or not? Because these are the facts on the table. So decide what you want for our future. And by Robert Jenrick joining the Reform Party, he has basically said, well, look, I will, because you don't get a say over anything in the Reform Party, obviously. It's all controlled by the board. I thought it was hilarious yesterday, by the way, that he said he will have a job in the shadow cabinet or whatever, this cabinet they're putting together. The cabinet haven't got power in Reform. It's the board that have power in Reform, okay? So in Reform, unlike other parties, the cabinet don't make the decisions. The board do, okay? Who are 75% appointed by Nigel Farage. So again, if you look at the board, he will be told, sit down, say this, do that, and that's the way it will go, and shut your mouth, basically. And sure enough, Reform's immigration policy is, right now, is we will deport all illegal migrants who are male and single, okay? Single being the key. Zia Yusuf said we will deport all illegal migrants, okay? What he means by that is anyone who's coming in after we take office. The people who've already come in, when they've been asked about it, and you can read this in their little 6-page document, 6 pages. This is the party that's meant to be anti-immigration. They had 6 pages, and 2 of them was a front and a back cover. So 4 pages, right? Really, it's 3.5. One of them had a massive picture on. I read the full thing in about 20 minutes, right? So yeah, 6 pages on immigration, and it says single illegal migrant men. So they're going to basically create an industry where, you know, these African princes or whatever are going to be online looking to date, you know, over 50 single women in the UK who, you know, and they'll pay them for it so they can stay here. That's what Reform's immigration policy is going to do. They're not going to deport any legal migrants at all. 0. So anyone who's just came here and sat on benefits the entire time, they will not be deported. Anyone who's basically just living off the state, scrounging off other people, etc., contributing nothing to our country, they all get to stay here. Criminals, legal immigrants who are criminals will not get deported under Reform. These are all laid out in their plans because they've not bothered to address any of them. I don't know why, but they haven't. So Robert Jenrick has signed up to a potentially weaker immigration policy than what the Tories are going to offer us at the next election. It simply is not good enough.
So I've got a question here, actually. Somebody has asked that I will ask you. And on the 1st of January, you put, if the UK deported every single Pakistani, it would be a better place. Even Pakistanis know this to be true. Now, this lady has put, I disagree, and she wants to know what your thinking was behind it, and actually she wants an answer because she disagrees.
Yeah, she's been on our case, mate. She's been on, so you need to answer.
Well, is she Pakistani?
No,
she's
all
not.
right, okay. Then I said even Pakistanis. Look, I'll be honest with you. When I say even Pakistanis agree, what it is I actually see an awful lot of Pakistanis and other migrant communities that talk about how horrible the number of immigrants in the UK are. Right? I was doing that in a bit of a tongue-in-cheek way to make people laugh there. But in terms of deporting every Pakistani, the UK will be better, unquestionably. I mean, look, it's not a personal thing. At the end of the day, I am sure there are many Pakistani people who are great people. But the question is does the Pakistani community as a whole contribute to our country more or take more? Well, if you look at the criminal rates, look at the sexual assault rates, they always appear in the top 5. If you look at the grooming gangs, think of the million girls that have been raped by Pakistani men in this country in the grooming gangs. Think about the crime that is committed by people who have Pakistani origin. Think of the clan warfare. Think of the FGM that we've experienced as a result of this. What I'm saying is on balance, if you look and say, has Pakistan done more to damage the UK than it has positively to the UK? Well, I'm sorry, the numbers speak for themselves. That's just a fact. I'm not saying it to be horrible. I'm saying it to be factual, okay? Pakistanis have their own country. It's called Pakistan. They wanted independence from the British Empire. They got it. They got their own country. Enjoy it. This is the United Kingdom. And if you look at what people have brought to this country, some communities have done a lot of more damage than they have brought good things to this country. Somalia is another one. I'll just as an example. It's not just Pakistani. I have this
thing with Pakistan as well. We have a returns agreement with them. I mean, basically, so there's nothing stopping us. You know, they can't quote the articles for ECHR because we have already an agreement with them, as Ben has stated with, I think, on his Liam Tufts interview. He said, "Send the Paki bastards back," in his own words. You know what I mean? So we've got some more questions coming in here.
So we've got how will Mohammed Yusuf be reacting to Jenrick now in Reform? Will Yusuf be storming off in a hissy fit again?
I hope so. I hope he does. I'll just tell you why, right? And the reason why, right? Look, just watching Zia Yusuf's brilliant to watch, right? Because he is the person he has a massive ego, right? And do you know what? Possibly deserves it to an extent, right? He's done an awful lot to bring that party from where it was to where it is now, right? Same with like Ben Habib and stuff, did a lot for Reform as well. But Zia Yusuf, you can tell that he sits behind the scenes and goes, nobody around here does any work except from me. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, right? But he certainly thinks highly of himself. And as a result, he sits there and thinks, I don't get enough respect. Now, obviously, a lot of people in Reform speak to me all the time, and they basically tell me Zia Yusuf is a massive arsehole, right? And he's got regional directors who work underneath him, who control the party nearly entirely. And the branches really don't like interacting with him. And the reason why is he's like a banker type guy, right? So he works, he basically basically goes around and, telling people, he's used to be able to say, listen, I pay you a fortune. I can speak to you like shit. I want results, right? Whereas obviously when you're doing it for free, you're doing it for the love of your country, you got to be nicer to people. And that's the basic problem with Zia Youssef. If you watch his timeline, his Twitter timeline, right? He didn't congratulate Leila Cunningham when she got announced as London Mayor candidate. He didn't congratulate Nadeem Zahawi when he joined the party, and he didn't congratulate Robert Jenrick. In fact, if you wind back the clock a few months, Zia Youssef was writing scathing attacks on Robert Jenrick and Suella Braverman. Okay? Now, I noticed straight away that there is something. Zia is the de facto leader of reform. Listen, if you don't think that Zia Youssef is trying to be prime minister of this country by using reform as a vehicle,
great point. That's from Edward. Actually, that's one of our friends, Edward. Absolutely spot on.
And if you look at what his plans are, this is an incredibly ambitious man who's, as far as I'm aware, is not used to losing battles. He's done this for a reason. He's paid £200,000 to get his position in reform, and that position was taken away from him. He's no longer chair of the party. So there's a deal been done. If you remember at the time when he decided that he was going to quit reform, and he came back was it a day later or 2 days later?
Yeah, it was ridiculous amount of time,
Andrew Pearce wrote in I think it was the Daily Mail, and said, I've got an upcoming article, an interview with Zia Youssef, and it's going to be tell all, right? Andrew Pearce wrote that, and he wrote a column basically saying how people in reform were cheering and over the moon that Zia Youssef had left, okay? And there's loads of people who were writing tweets at the time saying, fantastic, Zia Youssef's gone. And then 2 days later, he came back and they were all like, oh, welcome back, Zia, all the rest of it. And the best thing is they all had to pretend they never said those things, and Zia Youssef had to pretend he never saw them, okay? And so they're all pretending they get along, right? But Zia is increasingly sidelined. He's increasingly not listened to, again, because Nigel sat there going, I've seen the limelights. I've seen the great lights of Downing Street. They're on their way. I'm going to be a star. I'm going to Davos, and I'm going to surround myself with the same Tories that I wish had accepted me all those years ago. But they rejected me, and now I'm making it so that I'm the kingmaker. You want to come? You want to be part of the government? You've got to come and bow down to me. And Zia's getting more and more sidelined. I promise you this. Before the next election, we will have another major incident with Zia Youssef or somebody close to Zia Youssef leaving the party, and they will do a tell-all interview with Andrew Pearce or somebody else or whatever, and it will be revelatory in terms of what's been going on in that party. Because, listen, there are things I know, I'm sure you know, about some of the top people at Reform, some of their habits, some of the things they get up to and all the rest of it. And I'm not going to be the one to turn around and say it in public, but the truth is, there is a lot to be said about some of the actions of those people. And I'm sure someone will eventually say it.
Yeah. So we just want to go to a video, actually, where Boris Johnson is talking about all the defections and his thoughts on it. So I'd like to hear what he has to say. So just bear with me.
But before I show the video, Boris Johnson, I mean, I look back now, right? I quite like the guy. He's charismatic. But when you watch this video, you realize, what the hell were we thinking having this guy as a prime minister? I mean, Basil's thoughts might be different. So watch this video and we'll be right back. This is him defending the Conservative Party and why people shouldn't be defecting.
All my fellow Conservatives, particularly those who are allegedly poised to defect to a famously Russia-loving party and may already be talking to their handling agents, have had the vodka and the caviar, and you're writing your defection speech even now. My message to you is, can it, stop it, don't do it. And to find out why, read my column in the Daily Mail.
So
charismatic, you say?
Basil, it's just hilarious. I mean, he just wants people to read his article. I mean, what do you make of that? Boris coming out now and supporting the Conservative Party that he lost complete control of. The worst defeat, I think, in history of the Conservative Party, totally wiped out with the Labour Party. I mean, why is he standing and defending the Conservative Party? What skin has he got in the game?
I think that Boris Johnson is a great allegory for Nigel Farage. I think there's a lot of crossover there in what's happened with Nigel. Let me explain. So Boris Johnson was a bit of an outsider as well of the Tory party. Okay, he was in the Tory party, but he wasn't taken seriously. He was always seen as a bit of a buffoon, a bit outlandish, a bit controversial, and all the rest of it. And, he had a persona, right? And everyone who knows anything about Boris knows it's all a persona. It's all an act, right? The whole scruffy hair and the stupid lines and the mistakes. I actually saw Boris do 2 speeches at 2 separate venues, and he made the same mistake that made everyone laugh, right? So it was all these lines in the same spot twice. And you realize he does this at every single thing, right? It's all an act, right? Much like Farage. And look, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Look, but politicians, they have to do these speeches over. You can't come up with original stuff all the time. Do you know what I mean? I understand that it's a lot of the time it is a game of show and tell. But what's interesting about Boris and Farage is that, like I say, both of them ostracized from the Tories at the top. Both of them are Tory boys, right? Prep school boys, right? Who wanted to be accepted by the grandees of the Tory donor society. And the truth is, Boris got there by promising he will be incredibly tough on immigration, promising he will be the one that will finally give British patriots the chance to have a party in government that represents them. He's going to take us out of the EU. He's going to get away from all the globalists, and he's going to turn around and defend Britain. And obviously, what I'm saying here could just be the story of Nigel Farage doing exactly the same thing. And slowly over time, Boris, well, if you listen to Dominic Cummings, he said basically Boris, he started changing his opinion on things based on people being nice to him. All the people who'd slagged him off for all those years and said, Boris, you aren't worth crap and all the rest of it. And, you couldn't run this, you couldn't run that. All of a sudden they were going, Boris, you're great. We love you. Thank you. You finally showed us the way. All you need to do is just accept immigration the way it is. And obviously just accept these things. And then what happened was Dominic Cummings said, well, you've forgotten what the mission was. And he said, and that's what he said in podcasts. He said, you've forgotten what we were put here for. And so he left. And I've got to be honest, I look at Nigel Farage and I see the same things. And I'm thinking, who's so powerful? But you can imagine when they get wined and dined and they get looked after. And it's like, look, just don't go too harsh on this sort of thing. They forget what the mission was because they're part of the club now. You're in the belly of the beast. It's the same reason why people say, have you ever heard like old actors or actresses talk about when you're young and you go to Hollywood for the first time and you start doing things you never thought you would do, and you start turning a blind eye to things you never thought you would turn a blind eye to, the drugs and the parties and all the rest of it. And the reason is you're in the belly of the beast, and it feels good to be in there. And so sadly, the truth is, in this country, we need a true revolutionary to fix this country. But unfortunately, we have people who are too easily impressed by money, affluence, wealth, etc.
Well, before we come to the next question, Rose going to ask, one of those have asked, I get that, because when I was going to London 4 days a week and working in politics at the time, I seen a lot of things that really opened my eyes, Basil. Things that shocked me, coming out of the Welsh shires, as it were, into the big city and all that, and sitting in pub toilets and things like that. I seen a lot of stuff, mate, that I didn't. I just thought, do they really do this? And then the bell would go in a certain pub for voting, and then they'd all leave their pints, go over to vote at the House of Commons, then run back to the pub and straight back at it. I mean, some of the stuff, you could sell to the papers, literally, So I get that. And it does change people, because we said this, when people get into politics, it changes them. Once they get money and power, if they're not really principled people with real convictions and real genuine concern, like people like Rupert Lowe, I suppose, and Ben Habib, and there's a few good politicians, don't get me wrong. I think if they're not like that, then they get sucked into the belly of that devilish beast, and they become part of that system, Basil, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. They get sucked in.
Yeah. So, do you think, Basil, that Farage will take in Matt Hancock next? I don't know if this is tongue in cheek.
What do you mean by take him in? Is he homeless?
Like the Ukrainian red boys, I think.
Look, do you know what? Every time I've sat there and went, there's no way Nigel Farage would do that. He's then gone and done something even worse. So possibly, probably.
What about Dominic Cummings? What do you think of him? Because never underestimate that guy. I mean, love him or hate him, he's not stupid. He's a very smooth operator, and he's been around pods a long time. And I listened to him on a podcast. I think it was with Michael Gove just a few weeks ago, and I was just very impressed with him. I'm not saying I agree with Dominic Cummings by far some of the stuff he was involved with Boris Johnson, but would someone like him be a good addition to someone like Advance UK? I'm just putting it out there. I'm not saying he is, right? But what's your thoughts on that?
If Dominic Cummings offered to join Advance UK, I would snap his hand off. Dominic Cummings, can I just say, by the way, I actually do agree with a lot of what he says, particularly around the idea of what's wrong with this country, right? He gets it. And do you know what? He's got it for years. For a start off, a lot of people don't know this. He's a working class northerner originally, right? And when you listen to Dominic Cummings and he talks about how upsetting it is to see that, because the thing is, right, no matter who takes over government, you've got to understand that. I mean, Rupert Law's mentioned this. The 23 senior civil servants in the government, in the parliament, have more power than the government themselves, right? The way it's been structured is really bad. The only person to beat a senior civil servant in the last 10 years, 20 years, whatever I can think of, was Dominic Cummings. And basically, he did it by getting Boris Johnson to fire the senior civil servant and a number of other civil servants in the education department. That's the only reason why we've got academies like the Michaela School now, okay? Because basically he said, I can't work out how to get rid of these people. The only way I can do it legally is to get the Prime Minister to do it, who can do anything, right? And he did that. And sure enough, what he worked out was, if you just keep firing people, eventually the remaining people will say, yeah, I'm going to do what you've asked me to. Dominic Cummings understands what's wrong with this country. He also understands that if we give power to the right people in this country, we can be a great country again. Okay, there are ways we can do this, and the stuff around the science sector and stuff like that, which he's spoken about in the tech sector, I think is incredibly important. And this could revolutionize and bring us into a fourth industrial revolution, which we really need to boost the economy. So, yeah, if Dominic Cummings wants to join Advance UK, snap his hand off. Okay, he will be a problem for you. He will be someone you have to manage. He will speak out because he just says what he thinks. And you know what? That's not a bad thing. To have someone who can honestly, it would be nice to have someone in Parliament who's a no man, not a yes man, who just agrees to everything that you say and, you know, bigs you up and all the rest of it. So in terms of reform, though, you asked me about, Dominic Cummings has said repeatedly that he met up with Nigel, he told him all of the problems, he explained to him what he needed to do, and in subsequent podcasts, every single time he gets asked about reform, he gets more and more dire talking about what they've done. He's incredibly disappointed by the lack of professionalism in the party. He's incredibly disappointed by the people they've appointed, or the lack of people they've appointed. He says that he's disappointed by the fact that they've got no plan and all the rest of it. So he sat there going, reform are basically right now the only game in town, but they're not the answer, which is why Advance UK was created.
Yeah, he's been saying that, but in fairness to him, he's been saying that, and you can tell he's quite honest about that, because Farage has spent a lot of time dissing Dominic Cummings, especially when he was working with Boris Johnson. You know, he slated Dominic Cummings so many times. So you can see he's quite balanced. There's no nuances with him there. You know where he stands. He's about what's best for the British people. So I get that side of it. I can see why he would be a great addition in many, many ways. We've got another question coming in here, Rogue, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. So again, for you, Basil, what is the public's opinion and your opinion of how Davos will go next week without the Dalek of Downing or Drowning Street, and Farage going to be going?
What's the public's opinion of how Davos will go next week? Well, right. I don't think Keir Starmer and Nigel Farage will make much difference to Davos anyway. So whether they turn up or not doesn't make much difference, okay? At the end of the day, Davos will be dominated by Trump and Americans, because it generally always is. And right now, with Trump in the White House, they have a lot to argue about, because a lot of people don't like what Trump's doing. The EU don't like what Trump's doing. And Trump has all the cards, right? So the perfect example of that being the tariffs that he's just put on the European countries just today, regarding Greenland, right? He can do that because America is that powerful, all right? And when it comes down to it, the European countries are not. So the arguments in Davos that will take place will be the same ones they do every single time that it's on, and the propaganda will be the same too, which is, isn't globalism fascinating? Isn't it fantastic? It will be very, very diverse. It'll be pushing the agendas they've been pushing for decades, as usual. In the background, however, there will be a lot of Americans sat there saying there's a new world order on the way, and if you don't buckle up, we will start ignoring you, we will start defunding you and all the rest of it. And by the way, it's the same thing that's happening at the United Nations, right? Trump goes in there, he says, you guys are irrelevant now, we're doing things our way. We're so sick of pandering to leftist agendas. the sad thing is this is a perfect opportunity right now for a country like ours. Okay, we share a language. Trump loves us. We could be getting some of the best trade deals on the global stage right now. We could turn around and say, listen, Trump is he's got a lot of faults, and you can play on them too. And you suck up to him, and he gives you what you want. People have proven that time and time again. But imagine this. Imagine if we had a prime minister that said, you know what, Donald, right? You're going to war with all these European countries. Give us a great trade deal and I'll support you. I'll be the one who says, no, he's not a bad guy. He's right. And all of a sudden, you've given Trump what he wants, a nice Western ally, right? And we could be doing that. But instead, Keir Starmer keeps backing France and von der Leyen and all the rest.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Mark Carney put out a statement. One of our friends sent us a video of him. I know he was the former head of the Bank of England, and now is it the Prime Minister of Canada?
Yeah.
I mean, he talked in this video about the new world order. I mean, it's like they don't even hide things anymore, do they? These globalists and elites, they're untouchable. I mean, it's just
arrogance.
I was going to listen to this video. It's only a short one of him speaking, and we're going to come back because listen to what he says very carefully, because I think it's important for people to know that, you know, before he became Prime Minister or Prime Ministers in Canada, isn't it? I forget which one it is, in Canada. He was head of the Bank of England. And of course, we know how they set the rates and interest rates and everything else. But let's just
Her leadership and the President Xi's leadership, our teams have worked hard in the subsequent weeks and months to address some specific issues that had built up over time. But more than that, to put in place the foundation for the new strategic partnership between our countries. I'm deeply grateful, my colleagues are deeply grateful for that commitment and the spirit of that commitment, one of respect, frank exchange, purpose, and progress. After all, the relationship between our countries is historic, it's complementary, and it's deeply personal for so many Canadians. As you mentioned, mine is the first visit of a Canadian Prime Minister to China in nearly a decade. The world has changed much since that last visit. And I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
Yeah, interesting words there.
Bold
the new world order. I mean,
like.
he sounds really creepy, doesn't he? We got HGB News, who's one of our friends on X, posting some stuff from here as well, asking some questions. But I want to go back to Mark Carney. What do you make of him? Because I despise the guy. I think he's rotten to the core, mate. I mean, what's your thoughts on him?
My thoughts on Mark Carney. Well, obviously he was head of the Bank of England for a while. I mean, which is just crazy, right? And now he's Prime Minister of Canada. Look, I think what it is it's another example of them hoping that Canadians aren't watching at home. When he turned around and said Canadians have a unique link to to Canada, to China, and all the rest of it. That's not true. That's not true. All Canadians have got no interest in China whatsoever. They've got nothing in common with them. They don't know anything about them. And by the way, Chinese don't know anything about Canadians either, right? They're in a locked up authoritarian country that when you go on holiday in groups, and they have an asset manager who's assigned to you to ensure you don't wander off or anything, right? These states are completely non-aligned, but their ideology is Mark Carney is a leftist liberal, okay? And what he sees is that the West are evil, and that's what he believes. And it's the same school of thought that Keir Starmer comes from as well. So them causing up to China, it's all linked. And believe me, by the way, this Chinese embassy, this super embassy in London, they'll be trying to get it built before the next parliament takes over.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things we've talked about a lot on this show, Rogue, isn't it, is about the globalist agenda and the elites, because we know it's all controlled. I mean, the whole digital ID thing, we've had a bit of a pushback now and a bit of a victory with organisations like the Together Declaration, great friends of ours, Alan, where we support them very much. And cross-party, you know, Rupert Lowe did some stuff. Advance UK, we put stuff out as well. We fought against it. And it's a small little victory for little people, if you like, isn't it, that they've stopped the compulsory digital ID. But let's be quite honest, we know it's going to come back. it's just temporary, isn't it, Basil?
Yeah, I was going to say it's temporary. It's given with one hand and taken away with another. We don't know what's going to come next, but we know that we don't trust him.
Of course, yeah. I mean, the digital ID thing, the scariest thing about it is people sat there going, we don't need this. We've got everything we need right now. So why are you doing this? You can't. Yeah. I mean, when he turned around and said that it was to stop illegal migration, I mean, that just proves to you it's nothing to do with illegal, because it was obviously, you know, they don't want to stop illegal migration, or they would. So you sit there and go, well, what is the point of this? Why is this happening? I have got some guesses around it, but the truth of the matter is only Keir Starmer and his acolytes at the top know. Unfortunately, what this does is it leads us into the realm of conspiracy, but it's not conspiracy theory, it's conspiracy fact. There is a group called the Fabian Society. Their logo was a wolf in sheep's clothing for many, many years. And the truth is they are ideologically trying to take over this country and make it into a leftist hellhole. That is their job. And if they see digital ID as the next step on the ladder to doing that, then we need to absolutely be against it, because the truth of the matter is whatever they claim it's good can do, the negatives it will always outweigh it.
Yeah. We had Alex Watts on actually recently, and we were talking about like Fabianism, and you know, we unfortunately had really bad connection with him. But how dark is it? It's so like the tentacles are everywhere, and
they formed the Labour Party.
They did, I mean, it was in 1880, wasn't it? And that's when it started. It was founded. It was a think tank, an original think tank, and that's actually where, you know, that Labour get all of their
a lot of their policies actually come from there. I just want to address one of our HGB news, and he's calling us boring on the panel.
No, he wasn't. I think he was talking. I think he was talking about.
I think he was talking about the video on the Chinese in the panel there.
I was going to say, mate, come on, give us a break.
It was.
I think he was talking about the panel in China. The Mark Carney was talking to.
Yeah.
We want to get HGB on the show, actually, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
I'm thinking, what's he saying? We're boring. I mean, we're the most boring people I know. I think I am anyway.
There we go. So
you asked the question.
Yeah. So let's go. So what will happen when they let out over 36,000 undocumented men into British society from being evicted from migrant accommodation? I mean, that is a
what do you think will happen? I mean, unfortunately, it just means like rape, sexual assaults, crime, robbery, theft will all go. It's always the same. Doesn't matter where you put them. Doesn't matter what you do with them. Doesn't matter what. Always the same thing happens. So,
yeah,
it is absolutely. I'm going to go back on the story with the defections for a moment, if I can, Basil, because I watched the Farage news, GB news, just the other day. Freudian slip of the tongue there. And even Reform candidates, right, are saying things that really they're not comfortable with what Farage is doing right now. And this clip here says it all, really, because it just goes to show what even his own candidates make of these defections to Reform.
I have to be very careful here. I've got two ways of looking at this.
Okay.
And I'm going to be honest, and I have been honest about this. My biggest bugbear is the fact that as a Reform person who has never been in politics before, so I would describe myself as a grassroots person, and I joined Reform 2 years ago because I was absolutely fed up with mainstream politics, with the Tories and Labour. And obviously the Tories before that, and then obviously Labour, and subsequently the disaster that they've been. So for me, it was about joining a political party that was different, that wanted change, that wanted to change the landscape of politics. And I have met hundreds and hundreds of amazing grassroots people that are coming to the party to make change. What I see is an influx of MPs from Tory, which doesn't necessarily sit well with me in some cases, because I think, how can you make change and transform politics with the same people that destroyed the country in the first place? That's just my view on this, and I think I'm entitled to that.
You absolutely are entitled to that.
As far as Jenrick's concerned, he was the catalyst and the instigator of the hotels and the mass opening of hotels across this country, which is what I spend my life against and protesting against, because they have been absolutely catastrophic and a disaster and ruining communities up and down this country, and that's just how I feel about it.
Okay.
There we go.
Fair point, but like, how long is she going to be in for now? Like, literally.
She'd be out
Absolutely.
by
I think so,
She'd
yeah.
be gone. Well, I mean,
You won't-
did you see that on Farage News? Sorry, GB News, Basil.
Yeah, you will. I tell you what, you will not see her on GB News again once they get wind of that at Reform HQ. I'll tell you right now, I doubt Ola Minahane, by the way, is who that is. She's a wonderful woman. I've followed her on Twitter for a long time, and I'll just tell you right now, I'll be very surprised if she's a candidate come the next election. And they won't tell her immediately, just like I did to Ant Middleton. They will wheel her out if they need to. But while things are going on Epping, and then as soon as it dies off, she will slowly be pushed out to pasture. Listen, I know what goes on in Reform. Some of you guys will have seen things that go on in Reform. People who have said far less scathing things of Reform than that have been pushed out. Rupert Law, remember, all he said is that we need to democratise the party and we need to put a cabinet in place. And he said it in the Daily Mail. And sure enough, they tried to get him arrested for it, right? So you've got to remember, you cannot criticise the dear leader. You cannot criticise the party and the structure and everything that's happened. And for her to say that on GB News, which is the platform that they've literally bought into to ensure it is a pure 24/7 Reform propaganda channel, you can't do that. So I'll be very surprised if she stays around for much longer. Obviously, I hope they change their ways, and she does, but I doubt it.
Fair play to it, though. It was bold, and she said it as it
very
was.
bold, yeah.
It's
Absolutely, yeah.
You know.
So
all is great.
We've got you till 9 o'clock, Basil. Is that right? So we got a minute left.
We can go for longer if you want. I mean,
every we're going to get on. They always say we've only got an hour. Then they're on with us and think, well, I'm enjoying this. I might stay on a bit longer. So I mean, Howard Cox was really looking for. We love having Howard Cox on as well, and we love having guests on because it gives us an opportunity to speak to our viewers and your viewers as well. And you know, one of the guys that I don't know if you follow him that I like a lot is Dan Wootton. Now, you know, he's not everyone's cup of tea, but he's a friend. I've known him for many, many years in GB News when he got kicked out of there unceremoniously and everything else. And he's been outspoken about a lot of things, hasn't he? And, you know, he is very much, he's definitely not in the Reform camp. We know that. And we shared some of his stuff. And I just want to play a short clip and run some commentaries in a few seconds here, just for you to get your thoughts on it if I can, please, Basil. Watch this.
So today we're meant to believe, and the establishment media, especially GB News, is telling us this every single minute of the day, it's over. It's just over, folks. It is Reform UK. It is Nigel Farage, despite the capitulation to Islamists, despite the capitulation to vaccine pushers, despite promising Labour defections and even accepting one from the Green Party, it's over. We're just meant to shut up. Even as the apparent next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom is on the front page of the Daily Star newspaper for having sent an £80 cameo message to the UK's most infamous paedophile, Ian Watkins, despite the fact he was killed in prison by a fellow inmate. Watch.
This message is to pay tribute to Ian Watkins, a good man, a really good guy who was very much in contact with me, who loved his children and will be sorely, sorely missed by them forever. And he'll always, hold that very special place in everybody's heart. And remember what he always said, mad lulz. Well, tell you what, that does just about sum up the world, doesn't it? Sorry for your grief, but please try and keep some happy memories.
Why is he doing this? Seriously. If Nigel Farage was serious about becoming the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, he would not be making £80 cameo videos for an infamous paedophile, something that is being used by the left of British politics. This is nuts.
It makes my stomach turn when I see Farage doing this. He also did a cameo in which he sang Up the Ra, which is supportive of the IRA. It's absolutely ridiculous. And we've also got him signing football shirts which have Farage on the back, number 10 Farage, and selling them at £370 a pop. This is all unbecoming of someone who wishes to be a future Prime Minister. But my biggest problem with Farage is his lack of political philosophy, his lack of fortitude, his propensity to pivot this way and that way in order to curry favour with whomever he wishes, whomever he thinks he needs to curry favour with in order to progress his agenda. Farage is not the answer this country wants. The questions that the country is posing are incapable of being answered by Farage. And I suppose that video, that cameo that he did, evidences it at a very fundamental, basic level. But Farage is flawed all the way through. And so I come completely round back to where I was, which is we need a true, honest, pro-British political force that can deliver at the ballot box and then has the wherewithal and the policies to enact the acts of parliament that are required to save this country.
Here, didn't you roll up and sign up to do the cameos?
Right. So I got a confession to make here, Basil, before we mention that cameo with Farage, right? So when I used to be on X when it first came out, sort of thing, I was kind of popular for my rants. I think it was my Welsh accent, and I used to
swearing
a lot, and it was during the lockdown and everything else. So I used to have big rants, and the videos would go viral. And so I thought to myself, I got an idea here. People like me ranting, so I thought I'll sign up to Cameo. I signed up to it, and not one person booked me. Not one person. I was
well, how much were you charging?
I think about 60 quid at the time.
60 quid? Wow. You thought a lot of yourself.
I know. It's this beautiful Welsh accent. I thought with my rants, my God, the government, I've had enough of them, shouting and screaming. I thought people would love it. And I thought, no, not one person took me up on the offer. Yeah. Your rogue just reminded me of it now. But yeah, I mean, the whole idea of him doing cameos, signing football shirts, and Ben Habib's articulated it so well there, didn't he? This is not someone who is someone ready to run the country, is it?
It's embarrassing. It's so cheesy. I mean, look, I can understand at one point in his life, Farage might have done cameo, back in the UKIP days or whatever, to try and raise a bit of coin for the party or for himself. But at the end of the day, he doesn't need the money, right? He just doesn't need it, right? This money is... It's just not. It's just not.
I do. I'm going to go back on Cameo. I need money. I'm going to do it. Are you going to send it to a convicted sex offender? I know that.
Look, I can understand getting caught out with. I mean, Ian Watkins is a common name. There's plenty of Ian Watkins in the country. Yeah. But the up the Ra thing, I remember watching that, and I was like, I cannot understand how he didn't realise saying up the Ra was a problem. This is also this is also a politician, by the way, who has previously said that there will definitely be united. It's inevitable there'll be a United Ireland one day, right? So again, Nigel Farage has a very weird relationship with the old Irish Republicans. Look, I think it's just because he doesn't care. He's not astute when it comes to this kind of stuff. Because it's happened multiple times. I mean, there's other cameos where he's made mistakes, where he said names that when you say them, they sound like normal names, but they turn into something funny if you say it quickly or whatever. He's done those kind of things. He's been caught out numerous times for doing this stuff. And it's embarrassing, to be honest with you. It's embarrassing that you can get the person who is leading in the polls right now to give you a birthday message or whatever for 80 quid. I think he needs to up his game significantly. But the truth is, it just plays into this idea that Farage is just all about himself and the money. And that is disappointing. This is another reason why people have become disillusioned with reform. You've got to remember, when you're standing to be Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, you are representing Britain. You're representing British people. You're supposed to be the best of our society. This kind of idea that you're just a money-grubbing celebrity type, people don't want that. They don't want it. We're sick of people who will do anything for money. And so, I agree with Ben Habib, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some comments coming in here as well. Farage bolted after Brexit. He'll do the same if he gets into number 10. I mean, that's been suggested with you.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Wasn't it Farage's dream as a child? It's his ambition to be a prime minister. So once he's done it, I feel he'll be just like, I've done it, I'm bored now. He's kind of quite ADHD, isn't he? In the way that he is, it's like here, there, everywhere.
Trump's the same, but when Trump took over the first time, right, he got in there and realised how much he didn't like doing the job, because obviously Trump was a businessman, and in business you get to do what you want, right? You're paying people, they do what you tell them to. Whereas in politics, it's obviously very different. I think Farage might have a similar situation where he gets in there and realises actually the job's a lot more difficult and a lot more arduous than what I thought. And sure enough, that's why you have to surround yourself with very good people. Now, Trump, the second time round, had a much more successful presidency because he got in the correct people to do these things for him, right? He got people in who know how to run things, okay? But with Farage, let's be honest, the people at the top are not equipped to do this right now. They might change things. There's 3 years left, but right now they are not equipped to take over this country and run it successfully. What you will find is that Farage will get very depressed about the state of things. Things will collapse, fall apart, and all the rest of it. And when you look at the way in which Nigel's positioned himself within the party, so that essentially he cannot be challenged, okay? You've got to wonder how does that baton get passed? Because Nigel Farage right now, how old is he? He's like 62 or something. He's 61, right? 61 right now. He's April this year. He turned 62 this year, okay? So come the next election, he'll be 60.
Basil even knows his birthday. Like, I mean, do you know what I mean? He's a font of knowledge.
Is he like tapping away?
Google looked it up. It wasn't anything special, but yeah, if you go on a font of knowledge, no, Google's a font of knowledge. If you go, but the point is,
a cameo for him.
but the point is, by the election he'll be 65. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, for those who aren't aware, yes, I am a nerd. I read the Reform Constitution. In the Reform Constitution, it has a thing just for Nigel Farage, which says that every 5 years the leader has to be re-elected, except in this first term. The board can give him another 5 years. Okay, so he doesn't have to do an election, anything like that. 5 years will be given to him. That is purposely because Nigel Farage is going to do 5 years tops. And then let's be honest, right? This is a guy who smokes and drinks a lot, probably never looked after himself, been in a plane crash, you know, all the rest of it. Age gets to us all, right? And he's going to probably retire before the end of the next parliament. The question is who's he appointing next? Because fixing the United Kingdom is not a 5 year job. This is a 10, 15, 20 year operation. Yeah. So who is he appointing next? Well, I've got to be honest, guys. My money's on Zia Youssef.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, Advance UK will get in, and Ben will be the Prime Minister. I got a question here as well. Question: who do you think should stand alongside Ben on the benches when we get elected?
Who should stand alongside him? Well, I think Ben surrounded him. Look, there's two things you look for. You look for credibility and loyalty. Okay, so I think you got to have a balance of the two. So I think it's important to get some people who are credible patriots who can run this country and who are intelligent enough to do it. There are plenty of people out there. If you were to turn around to me and say, you know, pick someone who's in Parliament right now, for example, Reform should be. My issue with Reform taking Tories is not that they're taking Tories; it's they're taking the wrong ones. There's far better ones out there, you know, such as Katie Lamb, Suella Braverman, and people like that who I would turn around and say, well, they could actually add to your party, and you know that their credentials are right on the big issues around immigration, etc. When it comes to Advance, I mean, if there are people like that who wanted to defect, you could turn and say, fair enough. True patriots who know that the Conservative Party is fundamentally broken, know what this country needs in terms of immigration, etc. But also, like I say, there are great people in Advance already. You've got, like you said, Howard Cox, yourselves. There's other people there who can, but who know about what they know about. They've got the specialist subjects and all the rest of it. You know, Howard's done transport and all the rest of it. And you've got to turn around to them and say, let's have you guys take the reins of the civil service and use the powers that we have to fix this country. If we're just being honest, right? Politicians are meant to come from all different backgrounds. We have far too many lawyers in politics. Okay, they are meant to come from all different elements of society. You don't need to know the law. The civil servants are meant to know the rules and all the rest of it. And you're meant to be the one who says, well, if that's a rule, that needs changing, okay? Or if that's what we do, we need to change it. As long as Ben appoints the right people to reform the civil service, to revolutionize it, to restore it, whatever word you want to use, then that will fix the country in itself, because the people he'll appoint above them will then get to do what they want to do.
Yeah, well, we've got some comments coming in. Rogue, they want you as the treasurer. They want you as Secretary of State, State of Women. They want you. I mean, there's no mention of me. Never mind. Anyway, I'll just mop the floors. I mean, I don't mind. I've done it before in the landings of Swansea. I won't tell you where. One of Her Majesty's finest hotels. But anyway,
Rogue is Secretary of State for warrior women, and that's what I am.
You are indeed. Yeah, we got some requests. Farage is just a showman. It's all one big circus. I mean, Parliament is a big circus for a lot of people when they watch it. I mean, apart from us political geeks who love to watch what's going on, keep an eye on it. And it's Wednesday, 12 o'clock, tune in straight there. Then you do your kind of, the Sunday mornings with a lot of Kunzberg. You get your whole graft of news coming in news feeds, because let's face it, most of the public are not engaged with it, are they? They like, it's boring, it turns them off. But I've always said this to you, that's the problem. We have people that are not politically engaged. So then those who are doing damage to our country get away with it because they're not being held to account, because we don't do nothing about it, because we're like, well, there's no point. But there is a point. And I think there is a rise happening in the country. I mean, Tommy Robinson has enabled that. I think that independent journalism has enabled that. Media platforms like this has helped that, and obviously not always, but all the platforms that we're partners with and friends with, bringing to the fore. X has been an excellent platform, and thank God for Elon Musk bringing this free speech again, because I remember when we used to get kicked. I mean, I got booted off X twice. I had to reset my account up, for saying a few things, about the vaccines. But no, it is a free speech platform. That's why Keir Starmer wants to ban the blooming thing. Let's be honest. And I think, it's now the tide is beginning to turn. Do you feel the tide is turning and people are starting to wake up, Basil?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing I noticed two fundamental shifts in the population. I've been doing things like this for decades. I've always been interested to hear what other people think about the way the country's run. I used to go to pubs and community centres and stuff and do kind of roundtable sessions and just ask people what they thought of things. And what you'll find is that the kitchen table issues are always the most important ones. And what I mean by that is, just as an example, people will turn around to you and say, listen, transgenderism or whatever is not a problem. And for the vast majority of people, it's not a problem until a man walks into a toilet with a young girl in front of him who's not his, and then it becomes the most important problem in your life. Okay. And it's the same with immigration. So again, for most people, they were switched off to immigration, and then until they got a bunch of migrants in a hotel down the road for them, or until a girl was sexually assaulted who they knew, or someone like that, then all of a sudden it becomes the most important problem for them. And for the first time since I've been alive, the number one issue in the United Kingdom now is immigration. It was always the economy, okay? And it's now immigration. And the reason why is because immigration is touching every single aspect of society. All of the problems we have are all linked back to immigration. And politicians have successfully lied to the British public for 28 years now about this issue, okay? They have been continuously lying and telling people lies about what they're going to do about this problem and the effect that this has on our society, okay? And that's why we are where we are today. If you look at the fact that all of these things have accumulated in where we are now, I can see a massive shift. So, for example, after Brexit, obviously the argument about EU immigration was over. People wanted them gone, okay? They've gone. You look at our immigration numbers from the EU, they've plummeted, and they were replaced by third world immigration, which is even worse, okay? And it's just supercharged the idea that people have gone, this is not what we want. So yes, if you see the shift in terms of the polling numbers, even Labour Party supporters, a majority of them want every single illegal migrant removed from this country. Even Green Party was something like 48%. It was very close to over half. Wanted every single illegal migrant removed from this country. The sad reality is people aren't informed about what these parties do. They listen to them and they don't do it. I've told this story many times in spaces. I'll tell it again here. On the day of the election last year, I still had quite a small account back then. It was, sorry, not last year, the year before. I had a small account back then. And so I didn't have many people coming to my spaces, right? And I used to talk to people and they'd come in and we'd just have a little chat. And I was just seeing what people were doing on election day because obviously people were out voting. A young girl came into the space. I've never seen or spoke to her since. I would love to be able to speak to her. She came in and she explained to me, she said, hi, Basil. She went, I've decided to vote today and I voted Labour. I said, why did you vote Labour? She said, because we need to stop the boats. Okay, now that to me and you sounds insane. You know, the idea you would vote Labour to stop the boats. But she genuinely believed that the Tories had failed and Keir Starmer had told her he's going to smash the gangs and stop the boats. Unfortunately, we have too many people in our society who they're not switched on to politics most of the time. They switch on for the 6 weeks of a general election. They listen to what they've got to say and they go, that guy sounds like, or that woman sounds like she's right, so I'll vote for her. They have no idea what goes on behind the scenes. But slowly, thanks to independent media, thanks to people such as yourselves, people like me and so on, that is changing.
It is the naivety, isn't it? Because, you know, we are told something and when it's coming out in MSM in droves and you're sat there kind of being mesmerized by it all, there is this belief system that starts to build because, you know, there is this element of convincing us. And again, political gaslighting. We are being coerced and controlled into believing that actually this is the right way. And so for the girl that actually voted, you know, I feel for her because she was coerced. And you must feel stupid when you've actually done that, but actually they need to be held to account for their lies, for their U-turns, and just for their complete bullshit, basically.
Yeah, because we were speaking with a guy last night in one of our meet and greets because we've been traveling up and down Wales for Advance UK called Glenn, and he said The problem is my grandmother, she just watches BBC.
Exactly.
Right? So, you know, they don't go on YouTube. They don't go on alternate like Rumble or X. So all their news is from the BBC, and you believe what they're saying, or Sky News or Sly News, whatever you want to call it. And so I suppose Keir Starmer's coming on there and he's telling people, I'm fixing everything. Don't worry, the economy's going to go well, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And if you're and most older people generally do vote more than the younger generation. I think they have been fed that. And of course, because that's their main source, they don't have alternative media. I think they like in Wales, they've always voted for Labour. You know, you put a red rosette on a donkey and they bloody vote for it because that's all they've ever known.
It's like my mum, so in education and also in the NHS. So if a doctor tells her this, she believes it and she won't question it. And I would say, no, Mum, you need to go back and you need to question that because that's not okay. So we are from a generation where we have got more information, we're more savvy, we can start to look at stuff, research stuff. But she will not challenge the narrative because she's fearful that she will be penalized for it. And actually, that's a horrible way to live. So I love to challenge everything. I love to explore everything and dissect everything. And you know, Basil, you do a great job for me. So thank you. But you know, it's the thing, isn't it? Like, you know, my mum won't challenge stuff, and then you have people who are going to listen to Keir because he said that he's going to smash the gangs.
Or they read the newspapers, things like this. And actually, I'm never reading the paper. You know, we bought these newspapers for our breakfast show this morning. It cost me 12 quid. 12 bloody quid for newspapers.
How many bought?
They're rubbish. A lot of them, they're rubbish. They're absolute pile of crap anyway, but we went through some of them, didn't we? We did. Our time is almost up. I don't want to go, Ash. I'm enjoying it so much. But let's stay online. There is something I want to talk to you about, Basil. It's the digital ID thing, right? Because that's been huge over the last few weeks. And I know that the government of Keir Starmer has done a kind of a U-turn on this, right? But it's not completely over because the Together Declaration, Alan Miller, I know that you know who he is. They've been campaigning now because they want to digital ID children from birth. I mean, it's absolutely, it's almost like microchipping kids from birth, you know, and everything else. The birth certificate, as if that's not enough, then they want to go a step further. And they were out campaigning today. I'm just going to show you this clip very quickly, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit about it.
What we want to do, everyone?
Stop it! And again.
You say and again. We're here on the rally. We're heading over to Whitehall. We want to stop the Children Wellbeing Schools Bill, particularly about the digital ID identifier. What do we want to do, everyone? Stop it!
Yeah, that's Alan Miller, their campaign. He's going to be coming to Wales soon. We're going to be supporting him on that campaign to ask to call on the government not to digital ID children. I mean, what do you know about this, Basil? Any insight on it?
Yeah, I mean, digital ID has been kicking around since the Tony Blair days. Obviously, they've been trying to push it for decades now. The idea being that if they put all the ID systems in one place, it will somehow make it more efficient and all the rest of it. Now, I'll just be honest with you guys, right? Again, when you look at when you go about your lives, right? I remember when ID first came and the idea that you had to show ID to get alcohol or whatever. Has anyone been really that inconvenienced by it, other than people trying to get beer when they're underage? You know what I mean? I've got to be honest. Whenever I go about my life and someone says, "Can you show me your driving license?" It takes 2 seconds. Do you know what I mean? And there's no need for this. But the reason they want to do it is because they want to bring everything in together under one digital system. And obviously, the risks involved are horrific. However, my biggest concern is obviously that what do they really want it for? Like I say, it's a solution that doesn't fix a problem. There's nothing wrong with what we do right now. So why do they want this all bringing under one roof? Okay, it's not to stop illegal migration. It's not to. They're lying about that, right? Because we know that they can stop illegal migration if they wanted to. We already have the mechanisms in place. They just refuse to use them. So the question is what do they want to do? And they won't tell us. The Fabian Society are massive supporters of digital ID, okay? But it links into other things. All of a sudden, it'll go from everything is a slippery slope, by the way. It'll start with digital ID, then it'll become retina, then you'll have your DNA on record and all the rest of it, and it'll become a much more... We already are the most watched country in the Western world. We have more CCTV per capita than any other country in the Western world. Now, all of a sudden, they want to do facial recognition everywhere and all the rest of it. These people are actually inspired by the Chinese Communist Party, and it's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, because we've talked on previous, when we first launched our podcast, because we went off, we stopped doing it for a while because we were focusing on advanced UK stuff. We still are, obviously, but we've talked a lot about that, didn't we? Because it was about harvesting people's data, DNA and everything else. And, you know, when you look deeper into it, people call you a conspiracy theorist and all that kind of stuff, and you could tinfoil hat. But actually, when you look into it, it's actually really happening. You know, but the question is, what is the end game? Is it control? What is it? Because in China, of course, we know they measure their carbon footprint and things of that nature, and we can see where that's going with Ed Miliband and the net zero madness that he's on. He's a psychopath, if you ask me. If I see the guy, it just makes me laugh. But there's a serious side of it as well, because he's damaging the country with some of these net zero policies on something, and even people don't even know they're paying. You know, in their tax, they're paying for a green tax levy. You know, I mean, they don't even know, the public don't know these things, and they've been hoodwinked by the government. I mean, what's the end game, Basil? I mean, I always come to this, you know, when we talk about the globalist agenda, which, you know, I believe in. What is the end game? What's it all about? What's it for? What's it going to achieve?
Well, if you look at, I mean, look, without trying to sound too conspiratorial, so let's stick to the facts of what we've got right now, okay?
Yeah.
Look at what they do right now. They arrest people for things they say on social media, okay?
Yep.
That we would argue, I mean, plenty of times it's nothing to do with incitement of violence. It's all to do with just saying things that the government don't like you saying, okay? That's what they do right now. 2, they stop you from traveling if they don't like your politics. We've seen that happen as well. We've seen people get arrested, comedians arrested for terrorism offences just because they make jokes online that they don't like. Okay, there's number 2. Number 3, when it comes to controlling criminality, the way that they see criminality being done, it's not about focusing on burglaries and on rapes and all the rest of it. It's about focusing on, again, online activity. They see that as the most dangerous way in which they can lose power, essentially. And if they can control that narrative, they can make sure that these opinions are not to be seen, then that's more important than for anything else. Because remember, the process is often the punishment. Go and have a look at Tommy Robinson, okay? Look at what he's actually been through. He's a perfect example, right? Forget the time he spent in prison. Look at all the other punishments he's had, being debanked, lost his right to travel, lost his right to see his children at times. He's, you know, ended up divorcing his wife. All these things that get pressure on you to make it so it's impossible for you to do anything different. Another perfect example, Craig Houston, good friend of mine from Scotland, okay? Craig Houston, is, for anyone who doesn't know, he's been going through a problem with the police. One day, Craig will tell you what happened there, but it was because of something he said online, okay? It was, I mean, look, I'll tell you right now, he didn't do anything wrong, but the point I'm making is, when it comes out, you'll realise it for yourself. But the point is, they took his phone off him. They took his digital, any digital items he had, they took them off him. They still have them now, months and months later. Everything, your life's on your phone. You can't get in touch with people, all the different opportunities you miss out on. It makes it harder for you. And again, it's so people won't employ you. They'll turn around and say, well, you've got this mark on your account or on your digital ID saying that you're a troublemaker or whatever. It's to make it impossible for you. And what they do is they'll do this. In future, the police will come to your door, and they've done this to other people, and they'll say, listen, you say things that are probably not illegal, but we're going to take 9 months investigating to find out whether they are or not. And you're going to lose your phone, and you're going to get a mark on your name, and it's going to be in the paper, and you're going to lose your laptop and all the rest of it. We'll find out at the end you probably didn't do anything wrong. But do you want to go through that, or do you want to shut up? And that's what it'll come down to. And digital ID is the next step from that. The other example, you mentioned it yourself, net zero madness. It doesn't make any sense. Listen, guys, I'm a trained electrical engineer. I did it for 10 years of my life before I went into project management. I can tell you right now, I have looked into this. Net zero is a disaster. It doesn't work. It doesn't even reduce our carbon footprint. It does at the front end when we're actually using wind, but the things it's built with are made out of dust from Africa, and there's kids literally mining this stuff with their bare hands. It's disgusting, right? They don't care. These people know this. Ed Miliband knows this, and he still does it anyway. So imagine giving someone who is a complete psychopath like that, and I don't use that word lightly, I've said this before, the power of digital ID and facial recognition, all of it. Who knows what mad things they will come up with that we can't even, because we're not crazy, we wouldn't think of these things. Who knows what they'll come up with to ensure that their force, their act, their will is put on the British public. It could be monstrous.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got somebody, Basil, some praise. Basil is so informed. It's been a great interview. It's a shame MSM has such rubbish interviewers like Camilla Domini. I would rather listen to Richie Rogan, Basil.
Yay!
Thank you.
Do
you know Camilla?
Again?
Can I just say, by the way, how is Camilla Tominey still allowed on the air after she called Tommy Robinson a white supremacist? How is that woman still considered a journalist? That is disgraceful what she said.
Absolutely, mate. I mean, I just some things I can't get my head around. I look at it and think, how do they get away with it? If we had said something like that, you know what I mean, the opposite side of the argument, and called someone that, we'd be immediately cancelled without a shadow of a doubt. You know, I remember when GB News first kicked off, when it was the People's Channel, the amount of people they cancelled, the friends of ours, you know, I don't want to list their names, but, you know, quite a few of them, and still friends to this day, you know, and they were cancelled for stupid things, you know, because GB News wanted to become part of the establishment, right? They wanted to become part of mainstream media, like news. They're not. And then and Farage, we know, has got shares in that company. He's got a company called Thorn in the Side, right? We've done our research on that. And he's got shares in the company as well, in GB News itself. You know, so the whole thing, we know it's a reform platform. Talk TV is as well to a certain extent. But it was great to see Ben Habib back on twice now on Talk TV in the last few days. Absolutely, I'm really pleased with that. So I just want to say thank you to Talk TV, by the way, for having him on, because I think it's fair that people hear his voice, because
absolutely.
you know, we are a growing party, a party that's offering people something completely different from any other party out there. We're a democratically run party, and something that's very important and close to my heart, and the principles of sovereignty, freedom of speech, equality of the law, and democracy. And one of the things that obviously the burning question that a lot of people are asking as we started the show this evening is with Advance UK, of course, with Rupert Lowe's announcement, because we think he's one of the best MPs out there. But now he's come out with this announcement. You know, what's he going to do over the weekend? Is he going to join Advance UK? Is he going to start his own party? Is he going to, you know, there's a lot of guessing going on, Basil. You know, we've had conversations privately with different people. But I mean, look, my opinion, this is my opinion. I would love to have Rupert Lowe as part of Advance UK. I think it would be a great addition. I think he would be a superb leader. I think it would really raise not just our profile, but also it would give us, we would absolutely back the reform. I think if that happened, I really, really do. What's your thoughts on that, Basil?
Okay, I'll be a little bit more controversial. Look, I say this as someone who supported Advance UK and the mission that they have. I don't really care if Rupert joins Advance UK or if Ben Habib joins Rupert Lowe's whatever party he makes up. I just want something, a vehicle that we can all agree that we're going to get behind and work together. I am not interested in egos or anything like that. I really don't care, which is why I was so happy when Ben yesterday said, you know, if he gets it right and all the rest of it, I would be willing to join, because I didn't set up Advance just to be a vehicle for me and all the rest of it. I think that's really important. I think people are so scared for the future of this country that they and especially with reform betraying so many people and realizing that they're basically part of the same blob they promised to defeat, that we've realized that this is crunch time now. We really need to get our act together and pull something out the bag here. I believe that Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib still have things they can offer this country. They've still got a part to play in the game of this political cycle, and I want to see both men on the pitch, including all of their supporters, all united in one vision and one cause, which is the cause that Reform UK was originally set up for. I want to have a party that sticks to those original principles, that is democratic first, believes in its members, won't shun people out, won't bring separatists in the party, won't try to get people arrested for false allegations, won't turn around and bring in failed Tories who destroyed this country. All those things will be out the door, and we will have a party that will truly fix this country.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you this morning we played the video of Ben, which we might show in a few moments, and something that struck you about what he said, wasn't it? About being a patriot before anything else.
I mean, like, you know, there is no ego with Ben, and I find that completely, you know, sort of intriguing, because he has every right to have ego, but he is just so amazing in his delivery, the way that he articulates, and actually that he recognizes, you know, his strengths, but he also recognizes Rupert's. So, you know, for everybody to come together, like you said, is the most important thing ever, because we're at such a critical stage at the moment. You know, England, UK, Great Britain, it's on its knees. It is on its knees, and we have to make a change, which means that we all have to stand together and we have to fight what is coming at us and ensure that we make that difference.
Absolutely. But one of the things you mentioned as well is, you know, when people are prepared to put the country before themselves, before the party,
what a beautiful
before
thing.
their name, before anything else, you know, and I think what I've seen Reform become is more of a show, really.
Yeah.
And, you know, and the style of the show is Nigel Farage. You know, Reform is Farage. Farage is Reform. Take him out of the equation, they wouldn't be where they are. And I think what Ben's tried to do is to build a party up from the ground of ordinary people. Hence when he phoned us and phoned myself and he said, Richard, would you consider leading advance for me here in Wales? You know, the first thing I said is, oh, what's it all about? Send me the constitution. What are the key pillars of the party? Because I was done with politics, Basil, to be honest. I'd stood in 2 elections, one with the Brexit Party in 2019. I thought, I'm done with it. Stick to doing this kind of stuff, political podcasts. But there was something that got me when I heard Ben speak. I thought, this guy genuinely believes that we are at a crucial time in history, and this might be our very last chance right now to save our country, not just for us, but for our future generations, for our children,
and our children.
Yeah, and I think that's why really I thought to myself, you know, because I can, like, a few years' time, I got my private pension. I was going to go off, and what was I going to do?
Going to go traveling, buy yourself a little yacht, and then disappear
into the sunset. But you know what? I didn't want to abandon my country. I didn't want to abandon Wales, which I love passionately. I really, really do. And the whole United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And I thought Ben's giving people hope.
Yeah.
Because we know Reform are imploding left, right, and centre, and all of a sudden Ben's come along, started this party, and you know it's given so many people hope. As we've been travelling throughout Wales, the amount of people that have come up to us, and these are people who have never been into politics. They weren't ex-reformers. They've just said, I've never ever, in their 60s, some of them, I've never joined a political party in my life. But after listening to Ben Habib, we've joined the party. And these are people who have never been involved in politics. And that really excites me and tells me that the silent majority are waking
an
up.
appetite, a real thirst.
And they're finding a political home. And they also say to us today, we feel like we're part of a family. When we travel and we meet them, we have a coffee or a pint or whatever it is, food with them, and we meet in different venues. If they don't cancel us, that is. They feel like part of a family. And that's so important, isn't it? Because we want to be a party of the people. You know, not a party of politicians.
But I think, like you were saying as well, because you used to sort of work with Ben in 2016, and I think actually having that relationship, you have seen that over the years that he hasn't changed. And in as much your faith is in him, because you know that he is a man of conviction and a man of zeal, which is he will say what he means, he knows what he's on about, and he's actually delivered from 2016 to now by being the same person.
Yeah, absolutely. But what really sold me was his policy on bonk for Britain. That really sold it for me. That I thought, I'm in. As soon as I heard him say that, it was brilliant. I mean, look, you know, we don't put faith in men. We know that because men are fallible right at the end of the day. But, you know, I think when you look at someone like Ben and Rupert Lowe, they're very principled men. They say what they mean what they say. And, you know, I don't get that with Farage anymore. I think, like you said, he's been part of the establishment. To get into power, you have to play that game, Basil, don't you? And that's what Farage has had to do.
Absolutely, yeah, and obviously I think it's interesting to see when you were talking about earlier the changing of people's opinions. If you look on social media, I mean, I think it's absolutely staggering that Rupert Laws came out of nowhere and become, no question, the most popular politician in the history of this country on social media, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on X. If you look wherever he goes, his numbers are staggering compared to Nigel Farage, Keir Starmer, anybody else. No one can touch him. And then if you look at the fact that X used to be Reform's playground, right, in particular, but Facebook too. And it meant that anytime they showed up, massive numbers of likes, engagements, all the rest of it. And they don't lie. You can look and see how many numbers they're getting. And you look now, and they are constantly being ratioed by people calling them out. And what I mean by that, for those who don't know, is people who get, obviously in the comment section, you get a lot less views, but they get more likes in comparison. I mean, just today, Matt Goodwin put out a thing directly in response to Ben, and he said, you know, if there are people on the right of British politics doing anything other than backing reform, then all they will be remembered for is maximise the chance of Labour, Green, SNP coalition, and in turn facilitating the destruction of Britain. And underneath that, both myself and Ben are both getting more likes than Matt Goodwin. Now, that couldn't have happened 6 months ago, but people have realized that these people are charlatans. They are lying to you. They're not, people are not buying it anymore. They're just not. And the question is how do we transfer what we see online into the wider country? That's the next task.
Yeah,
I think it's like we were saying about, like, in Wales, if you turn up in your suit and your toffee-nosed, you know, sort of arsehole that actually hasn't got any clue about what's going on here, like the reality, you know, you just get poo-pooed out. It's just like, oh, we're going to say, you know, go away. This isn't, you don't fit in. We need people of every caliber who have got life experiences to understand. And I think with Rupert, you know, he swears, he's a real man, he's really open, and I love that. I love that about him.
The authenticity.
It is. And he just doesn't give a shit. And I absolutely love that. But he does give a shit about the right things, you know, and his fight for us and for justice is so prevalent compared to anybody else, because he's having to fight what our government is actually doing to us.
Absolutely.
It's just bonkers.
Yeah, I think we've got the clip actually. We don't mind staying a bit longer, Basil. I just want to show our viewers the clip because they may not have seen this. If you haven't, where have you been? Ben's response, which I thought was beautifully articulated in what he said, and it shows you the caliber of man that he is. The way he puts it across, that he would rather see the country, being pulled back from the precipice of absolute disaster beyond repair. And he's willing to lay that his whole political career down for that to happen. So let's just watch this and we'll be right back.
A couple of days ago, Rupert Lowe posted on X that he would be reflecting over his position during this forthcoming weekend, and that by Monday he'd be making an announcement on the direction of his political travel. That has prompted much speculation that he is setting up a political party, and I've been asked a few times on the media what my position as leader of Advance UK would be if Rupert Lowe were to set up such a party. So I want to clarify my position. The first thing to say is that Advance UK was set up in agreement with Rupert Lowe and on the understanding that he would be its leader. It was the concept of Advance UK came about after Rupert Lowe was thrown out of Reform. And at the time, you might recall there were certain false allegations made against Rupert by members of Reform, or at least one member of Reform, and some staff employed by Reform. And Rupert had to clear his name before anything formal could be revealed to the public. And also, the party needed to be set up. So while Rupert went about defending his good name, I did the work required to put a constitution in place, think about the various steps that were required to launch a new party, and behind the scenes get a team in place, a corporate structure, a bank account, and so on. And that was all more or less achieved by May last year, when coincidentally the false allegations made against Rupert also sort of evaporated. I think the police dropped declined to take any further the complaints made by Zia Youssef. And I think it was at about that time that Rupert, who I had thought would lead Advance, decided actually he didn't want to go into a political party, that he wanted to lead a movement instead. And I disagreed with Rupert on that point. I couldn't see any point in a political movement. In order to deliver change, which this country so desperately needs, it has to be done through a political party. The only way to change things is to be in government and to be elected and have a democratic mandate to do it. That can only be done through a political party. So as admirable as all the arguments and shifting of the Overton window that can be achieved through a movement, it isn't the vehicle that can actually save the United Kingdom. So I reluctantly stepped into the leadership position of Advance UK. But, and this is a big, big but, when I took over as leader of Advance UK, when I decided I would fill that role because Rupert didn't want to be part of a political party at that stage, I only did so after having reflected on it very deeply and utterly committing myself to that role. I am totally committed to leading Advance UK. We now have 40,000 members. We are a politically registered party with the Electoral Commission. And I can tell you that we are doing great things nationally. A lot of former reformers, the grassroots of reform, are signing up to us, wishing to join us as candidates, wishing to join our branches, and councillors also, reform councillors who are sick of reform, are joining us. There have been a number of announcements made by Advance UK over the last few weeks, and there will be announcements coming out of Advance UK going forward. So, I am totally committed to Advance UK and to our members, and in particular, and this is, I think, what differentiates Advance UK from other political parties, I am committed to the mission statement of Advance UK, which is the nation state of Great Britain and Northern Ireland in all its parts and for all its people, our Christian constitution, the fact that we stand for freedom, freedom of speech, freedom from indoctrination of our children, freedom of action so that the state is pared back dramatically. We stand for democracy, the removal from domestic, from the application in domestic law of international law, the removal of quangos and regulatory bodies which have so hampered and hijacked our elected representatives, who have their hands tied, are incapable of doing what needs to be done for this country, because actually all the power rests in these nebulous bodies of unaccountable people. And of course, equality under the law. The law, as we all know, has been hijacked. We don't have justice in this country. What we have is a two-tier legal system. Those are that's the mission statement of Advance. And what distinguishes, I think, our party from the others is, first of all, the mission statement, which remarkably you'd think all other political parties would have, but they don't. But the other thing that distinguishes us is our membership is really only our membership because they want that mission statement. Our membership are first patriots, and then second, they're members of Advance. And I am first a patriot, and I am second a leader of Advance. That is how it should always be in politics. You put your country first, and you put your party second. So, if Rupert Lowe has now come round to the recognition that a political party is needed, I hope, instead of setting up a new one, he will join Advance UK, where we would welcome Rupert with open arms. The party was in many ways made in his image. It's got a fantastic constitution. We have 40,000 members, many of whom had never been members of a political party before. We're well capitalised, and we're soaking up, as I said, a lot of the grassroots across the country. We are a political force with which the establishment is going to have to reckon. Setting up a new political party would be challenging for Rupert, and he would naturally be challenging us. However, if he does set up a new political party, in the interests of our mission statement, and only in the interests of our mission statement and our membership, and only in the interests of our membership, I would of course look at what he is doing, and I would consider what he is up to in order to check that we can deliver our mission statement best either on our own or in some way talking to Rupert Lowe. That would be the rational and sensible thing to do. Members of Advance, the representatives of Advance, and the members of our college, which I haven't mentioned so far, but the members of our college are all here to save the country. That is the paramount aim. That is the only aim, frankly. And so if Rupert Lowe does set up a new party, we will of course look at it and consider it with all of that in mind. But as I say, instead of setting up a new party, I hope instead he will join Advance. And in order to make that crystal clear, I am now issuing a formal invitation to Rupert Lowe to join Advance on Monday if he is minded to get back into a political party. Thank you very much, folks.
Yeah, Basil, I know that you saw that. Obviously, you probably reposted it before anybody else reposted it, to be honest.
We probably reposted it from you.
Yeah,
I was recording it. I was behind the camera.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't surprise this one bit. I've listened to that statement several times, and you know, and honestly, it's so balanced and so
humble. Really humble.
You know, he's not. It's almost as if, look, I just want to do what's right for the country, and I think that's why Ben is finding a lot of support, isn't he, Basil?
Yeah, absolutely. I think people really, really, really badly want egos to be pushed aside. And I think it's nice to hear someone who turns around and says, it's not about me, it's about the country. And I think Ben and Rupert carry that in quantities. Now, obviously, in the past, they've worked together on certain things and they've discussed things and all the rest of it. And Ben's spoken about, you know, negotiations over him joining Advance. And obviously, they decided to do two separate things. One decided to start a movement, the other one decided to start a party. Things are moving on. Time's not stopping, so things have got to change as they go forward. I agree with Ben that there needs to be a party come the next election if we're going to vote for something, and I also agree with Rupert that there is benefits to being in a movement where you can unite people from all different parties and get them all working together. So there is yin and yang; they just need to come together.
Absolutely.
We absolutely love that. And on that note, yin and yang. Basil, who's yin? Who's the yang?
I think Basil's just everything. He's the perfect man.
Basil, you've been absolutely super. We have loved having you on, mate.
You've been amazing. And you make it fun. It's really lovely to have you on.
And the comments are coming in as well. So much love for you on the comments as well. We've got to get you back on again. Please, please, please. But can you make it a bit cheaper next time? Because your invoice was so expensive. So if you want to book Basil, you have to go through me as his agent, right? I'm his agent.
Yeah, he's an agent who takes 100% of the fee. Yeah.
I'll take a 10% cut. Right? But,
you two should do a cameo together.
I'll do the voice. Well, I have to do the face because we can't have his face. He'll have to do my voice. I don't really like doing a Welsh accent, Basil. Do you want to give it a go?
I can't do a Welsh accent. I can't do a in the valleys. I can't do one. What I will say, by the way, is I've really enjoyed this as well. If you guys ever want me back on, you know where I am. Just get in touch.
We do. You are now a friend of the show, so we're going to give you an option. It's going to be either every 2 weeks or once a month.
Yes.
You have to decide.
I know our viewers will love to have him back.
I'd love to have him back. He's brilliant.
Absolutely. And because we're a brand new channel as well, and to have these people on, it's humbling for us, isn't it? Because we respect you guys, your knowledge, experience, your following, and the fact you come on our humble little podcast. It does. It means a lot. It means a lot to us, and we really, really appreciate that a lot.
Does. So thank you.
So thank you, Basil, so much. We really, really thank you for coming on, and have a wonderful evening. Whatever you're doing the rest of this weekend. What day is it? It is the weekend, isn't it?
I don't know what day it is anymore.
And by the way, Saturday. And for all of those watching on X, thank you ever so much for tuning in as well, especially on Basil's as well. See, I know there's a lot of people watching on there. I think we've beaten GB News tonight, apparently. Is that right, Basil?
Oh, smashed it. Yeah, GB News way down numbers compared to us. Yeah.
So on social media, we've beaten GB News. Well,
can I have a high five?
Yeah. Far News. There, I know. So that, by the way, folks, that's across all platforms, right? Just so you know, so we're not making things up and telling lies like the government does every single day. But thank you so much, Baz. It's been wonderful having you, and we look forward to having you on again soon.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, guys.
Always.
Cheers, mate. Take care. Bye. I never know how to end it when we got a guest.
I know, because I just love him. I don't want him to go. So it's like, please don't go. Please stay that little bit longer.
I know.
But I mean, it's time for us to go.
Yeah.
And it is. My throat's really, really, really hurting.
Because we've done a lot today. We've done a lot of
we did a brunch this morning, and we're doing our show tonight. And we obviously the guest Basil. What a delight! Absolutely love him. So, what do we need to say at the very end? Because we've been told that we need to practice our ending, because our ending is always a little bit messy. So you can now give out our socials.
Yeah, because people are saying like, how do you end the show? Because we don't ever know how to end it. Because we never want to go really. Because
we don't want to go. We just love you. And we just stay here forever.
We just order some pizza and just stay here and just get everyone just have pizza with us or something. But yeah, thank you all. The thanks coming. Thank you, Richie and Rogue, for the show tonight. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. That's the most important thing. We love you all so much. And don't forget, guys, please follow us on all our social medias, because then when we're live, you'll get notifications. We don't care about, I got big phone, I got big numbers. We're not looking for that. We're looking for people to get onto the show.
And have a family. Interaction. It's about having you all jump on with us, and we can just interact and have that conversation.
Absolutely.
Because it's real life and we're real people.
Yeah. And Basil, I mean, he's so knowledgeable, isn't he?
He's great, isn't he?
I'd love to know what he looks like.
Would you? He looks like a mouse, apparently.
Apparently, he does look like a mouse, doesn't he? I mean, Someone said, is he Danger Mouse's son or something like that?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I'd love to know what he looks like, but and obviously we got more guests coming up lined up, and we didn't we book someone this today? You got a few people lined up as well.
I have, but I'm not telling anybody yet.
No, some more guests coming on. That's going to be exciting.
Because we'll put the thumbnails out, and then you'll have to come and watch.
Yeah, apologies if some of the thumbnails are made by AI that makes Rogue look different. And
yeah, right. Yeah. Do you know what? Every time he does these thumbnails, I'm sorry, but I am going to have to pull you up on this. Right. Every time you do a thumbnail, you put the AI to make you absolutely seamless, and you just let me go with all these wrinkles.
Yeah.
It's like they've actually added wrinkles onto me with AI, and I find that quite insulting. Can you please stop that?
Okay, I'll stop it. Try that.
Okay, thanks very much. Guys, we love having you on, so thank you so much. Socials, Richard.
Yeah, okay. Social, okay, I'm just in the comment. Right, so, ladies and gentlemen, we are on all the social media platforms. You can follow us on X at Rogue Unfiltered.
Rogue Unfiltered.
And mine is RW Taylors, and you can follow us on Facebook if you just look for Rogue and
Richie and Rogue Unfiltered.
We're on there as well. We're also on TikTok, which I hate. I despise it.
Forget, yeah. I mean, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on X, and we're on YouTube.
But YouTube is important for us. So we've got a community on there as well.
Yeah.
We also have, which is something we've put together, and we do write a lot of articles actually on there. So please go onto our website, richieandrogue.com. Simple to remember, richieandrogue.com. If you go on there, there's a contact page as well. So if you want to contact us, ask us any questions about the show or any suggestions, please do contact us. And by the way, we don't have a team that looks after these at the emails. We look at the emails ourselves, and we respond to them as well as soon as we're able to. So please contact us.
And we are really busy running around doing lots of stuff.
Yeah, so please
bear with us if we don't answer immediately.
Yeah, and if you'd like to support us as well, you can by scanning the code, or you can go to the link that's in our YouTube channel. On the links there on Buy Me a Coffee, and we'd really appreciate that as well to help support what we're doing, because we got some big things happening next year actually, which
year we're in it.
Oh my god, it's this year.
Do you know, earlier he kept to say we're in 2025. It's like we are not in 2025. We have now moved across into 2026. This is new year, new things.
I know we have, and I keep forgetting that. But yeah, so we got some big things, and we're so excited about it because you're all part of it. We're building a community here. That's what we're doing. That's what it's about. So we want to say a huge big thank you to every single one of you tonight that came on the show and commented and asked questions. And
we will have Basil back on again.
Definitely, yeah.
He is just brilliant.
So the ending then, shall I work on it?
Okay.
Right, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the Richie and Rogue show tonight. We're so glad you did. Without you, this show wouldn't happen. We wish you all a very wonderful evening, and we'll catch you soon next right here on
Why
Richie
is
and
that
Rogue.
American? That's really bloody weird.
Okay. All right, then, boyos, what it is, right? We're going to finish the show now, right? And we'll see you on Sunday night.
Tomorrow night it is.
Yeah. So, folks, we will see you right here tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So make sure you get there, set that notification button.